Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Renison Jeffrey. This is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live on the Workers' Rights Network. Of course, today is the day when we broadcast Trinidad Social Talkonomics, in where we break down Trinidad and Tobago complex issues that nobody, when I say we are talking about Kezia Allen, yourself, Oral Saunders does beyond from time to time. But today, we are going to dive straight in the issue in which we was talking about from since last week Saturday, and even said before, because this 10% issue that we were promised here in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't feel that many of you would have understand the indictment with that 10%, the promise, the indictment, a matter of fact. And we know for sure, as we would have said in previous take, that the government can't handle that. But other than that, we are looking at alternate ways in which such a thing could be achieved. Without further ado, I am going to introduce you to the number one guest on the matter of fact. She come off, but I'm waiting for she to come back on. Miss Kezia, I don't know what take place there, but the internet, oh god, it showed a little more. Either. Just now, let me put you back on screen. So to everyone that are outside there, bear with me. At 2 minutes, let me get back Miss Allen on screen. So bear with me at 2 minutes. Again, Miss Allen on screen. I know you're missing she from since last week. Miss Allen, just now, they're missing you from since last week, so. I ain't hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, just now. Right, so I have you here on screen, Miss Allen.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh.
Thank you for tuning in to Trinbago Social Talkonomics. Are we having a challenge? Is everything okay?
Yes and no. Yeah, we are senior. The picture is taking a little while to clear up. It's just that we getting a little weak signal from on your end of the on your end, matter of fact. But we are seeing you.
I'm not sure. Well, we know why.
Yeah.
So I will change because we are doing this program. I'm going to change to a different provider in order to get a better service. Normally, because I'm not in the country, I don't really bother about it because my phone has data. So whenever house isn't working, the phone will work. But I'm guessing that it's not responding tonight.
Yes, we're not getting a response tonight, but we getting a speed that probably we could work with this for the time being, but
okay.
So Ms. Kezia, we was talking about last week the 10% issue, and we would have
the 10%.
Yes. Just to wrap up on this topic, before we go further.
Well, we can't wrap up on it, but what we can do is adjourn it till another date, because this is going to be an ongoing situation that the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago will want to be informed about and to what direction it's actually going into. My main focus is that our government understands that all the promises that they make are achievable. But it's achievable with proper structure, proper planning, proper execution. It is the presentation that they are going to be a no nonsense government. And I will hope that that will really be the case, because if that be the case, it means that we can see a positive change, a positive turnaround in the Trinidad and Tobago we know that would benefit everyone. That being said, I also want to ensure or want to highlight that while the public servants are being sorted for their increase, that she does not leave out legislation and mandates to deal with the private servants. There are a lot of companies out here that are literally raping private servants. There are stores that have workers working Sunday to Saturday. Yeah, and it's mandatory, it's not voluntary. So if you choose not to come out, you potentially you would be looking for a job. And in situations like that, it cannot be fair for an individual who have made a sales job in Port of Spain or any other city in the in Trinidad and Tobago. Sorry about that. Have made any other city in Trinidad and Tobago their um, career as a
Because
salesperson.
you're not wanting to
Tell me.
interrupt you. I feel, I mean, just wipe your camera a little bit. I don't know if it's the camera. You take it off.
Any better?
Nah, it's not the camera, but go ahead, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so a lot of people work under unsavory conditions.
Mm-hmm.
We have fast food workers like KFC, etc. We can't look at the Ruby Tuesdays and the TGIs and if anybody from those companies are logged on and what I'm saying does not match what you're experiencing, please feel free to call us, message us, inbox us somehow that we can highlight your plight. But I believe the standard restaurants, they have commissions and health surcharge. Yeah. But the fast food restaurants like the KFC, Royal Castles, etc., 9 out of 10 times people go to these establishments and they find the employees disgruntled. And they must be disgruntled. Reason being, it is hard to work for minimum wage with a high turnaround of clients or customers on a daily basis on your feet from the time you get in to the time you leave, providing that you're working just a standard shift and not doubling up or tripling up, and not see any incentive for what you do. A plaque on the wall, which we have malls. We have a mall in the west, which is West Mall. We have Ellerslie, and we also have Long Circular Mall. If anyone on a weekend or a holiday would like to purchase something from a store, that's those same stores. There are more locations that facilitate those recreational purchases, which also cover some level of entertainment as well for individuals who need to get anything. You'll go to the mall, you'll carry your family and stuff out, and then you'll go to where you want to get your stuff, but you'll also make an outing. So I want industrial relations to prevail here. We need a trade union that will seek the interests of private workers in Trinidad and Tobago, especially the ones that work in this what you consider the run-of-the-mill stores in Port of Spain, San Fernando, Arima, and wherever else, Tunapuna, wherever else. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that would be left out of that 10% offering once given. When I sat down and I crunched the numbers, literal tears come to my eye because I want to know how could a person live on that a month? You can't buy a car. And I want to call names of companies,
You
but the
want
people ask me not to call names.
you want to call names, girl? But anyway, go ahead. I
I
mean, it's the
want to
truth you're
call
talking.
names. I want to call names, right? Because it is unrealistic. These owners, these Syrian owners, let me say it this way. These Syrian owners of the stores in Port of Spain and these Chinese owners of the stores in Port of Spain that running their slave trade jobs that they call employment is who pissing me off today. Pissed me off this whole week because randomly I mentioned to you, Renison, that someone stopped me, told me they listened to the program, and there were some things that I was highlighting, and they were happy that I was highlighting that not just public servants, but private servants in these run-of-the-mill jobs need to be revised as well. Not minimum wage. Minimum wage does not pay their bills. They cannot save. They cannot. Anytime they try to do anything out of the way is because they beg, borrow, and steal. And then you want to know why some boy, this racking my nerves to the highest order. I was never one to be. I have a problem with these operations. Right now, these same stores by these Syrians, and they took away commissions. So where the employees used to look forward to running their sales and getting a commission. Now the thing is, you don't have to give a percentage of a commission. You could give a incentive bonus. So let's say, for example, it's 3 something for the salary. Tax bracket is up to 6,000. Excuse me. Tax bracket is up to 6,000. You can't tell me you can't give 5,000 when you're making a profit. When these stores indicate what their profits are, only the owners smiling. And guess what? They're smiling twice because why? They're running a slave trade. They're getting away with it. I find these people could go back to Syria and Lebanon. They would never do, because they destabilize their own economy with the way they think and operate. So I would hope that the Prime Minister herself is paying attention, or maybe seeing our program and understanding that we are not coming for her. We are trying to demand what the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago deserve, not just out of her government, but any government, any administration that is somewhere. Good sense ought to prevail somewhere. It makes no logical sense for a person to be on 3,100 a month. What it is you buying for food? You go and you buy meat alone. Boy, meat alone is an average of $25 a pound for the average meat, except chicken. And chicken going up now. Right? Pork and chicken kind of around the same price. But suppose you feel for a little piece of lamb, a special Father's Day coming up. A lot of people does put their monies into that, just to create a special occasion for their loved one. Well, how are they doing it? Cost of living is higher than your income. When you do that maths, if you happen to cover your bills, like your utilities, you get to do plenty. If you focus on grocery alone, that's your money done. If you're renting, the average rent right now, not even in no fancy place, is bullets here and left, right, and center for that salary to pay a rent for you. How fair is that? So for the the listeners that would like to be commenting that it's you're against this one and you're for that one. No, I'm for Trinidad and Tobago. A Trinidad and Tobago that is seeking their citizens' interests, just like other countries in the world that had and have and willing to do what is necessary. So we're not going to wrap up on this topic. We're going to stick a pin in it, because once that 10% is made, then legislation and mandates must be put in place. One, to ensure that any sales job has either a commission or a bonus, because nobody could live on what minimum wages. And if I tell you all that minimum wage is supposed to increase the standard of living, right, alleviate poverty and all of these things, how could you tell me you working Monday to Friday, Sunday to Saturday, Sunday to Saturday, just to get something to say that you could survive? You're not living yet, because living is when you do things with your life. You travel. Yeah. You buy one or two luxury things. Not that you go and you buy a car that you use and breaking down every 2 seconds because you want to feel some level of accomplishment for your life. But guess what? All you could afford is somebody bragadang that breaking down every 2 seconds, every two corners you turn. You're pulling aside. I need the government to understand that this cannot work. It cannot be the life of many of the citizens in Trinidad and Tobago, because they cannot live that way. The Syrians and the Chinese do not live that way, right? The Chinese that have restaurants don't even eat their own food. They profit from the Afro-Indo-Trinidadians supporting the business. The Syrians don't even wear their own clothes and patronizing the same things they sell. When you go into their homes, and I could tell you I've been in one or two of their homes. When you go into their homes, it ain't have none of the things they're selling. What they're selling you and me, that's not what they have going on. They have something else, because why? They don't even want to have a resemblance of being common. So they sell all the common things to all of us. The owner of Court Sunday, they don't have the same furniture and thing they're selling to us in their homes. They don't. But guess what? They get us to buy into it. Let me tell you all something. Walmart and this other store in the US was boycotted. Bermuda's, Kiss. It ain't taken no length of time for us to go back to basics and decide that we're going to boycott these people. Make a bread. Bake a cookie. Your children have to go to school with snacks. Bake a cookie. Prawn crackers. The plantain chips and the potato chips and cassava chips that get expensive now. Cassava cheap. Buy it, slice it thin, fry it, give your children those snacks. When these people feel it in their pockets, they're going to operate differently. It is the same position Walmart, and I had the name of the other company in my head, I know. It's not Dollar Tree. Dollar General in the US. Right? They are being boycotted as well. Because what they fail to realize is with all Black people, they are nowhere. But yet still they want to treat us like dogs. And not all of us do. But for the ones that do not know how to change the dynamics and shift the pendulum, we need to start engaging in changing the dynamics and shifting the pendulum. It is important for our survival, because these people don't even want us to survive. The purpose of COVID, based on different people's point of view when you do the research is that they're saying COVID was designed to eradicate the population, i.e., Black people. I'm not going down with that one because I have no statistics to back it up. But what I'm saying is we have power. We have power that we're not even seeing and observing and understanding is at our fingertips. Yeah? That we're just not seeing it. Ooh, you all don't even know how mad I am about this thing, because it getting more and more real daily. More and more real daily of the condition of this country, why it's in that condition. I need somebody to explain. If anybody in the comments have a rationale for this, help me. Because today, this is one of the things I don't even have the words for. It's just not right there at the tip of my tongue. Because I cannot see it. I go to the grocery and I am a basic person. I like food. So I buy myself my foods. If I buy ice cream, I'm not a snack person much. So ice cream may last me 2-3 months. If I buy snacks, same. I'm a food person. And when I leave the grocery from buying food, sometimes I watch the bill, not because there's a problem to pay the bill, but I watch to see what did I buy because it's not showing here. They're not regulating price, setting price stipulations, and reintroducing the pricing schedule to ensure that price remain constant across the board. Not you walk in the supermarket had the same product for a whole dollar more. Because it's on our heads, they're making the profits. We don't have a problem with that, but we have a problem when you're bent in your mind that the Black people, meaning Indo and African Trinidadian, because if we leave this country and go anywhere else, we Black. The Afro and Indo Trinidadians are not being catered for adequately in this country. I can read out a whole list of things. We're going to post some links for you all to what the government are there for. We are just asking that they do what they are there for. It's all we want. And I could literally sit back and say nothing because, to be quite honest, a lot of what goes on, I am unfazed by. But at the end of the day, what about family? What about friends? What about the average person that has a real situation and when they sit and they tell you their story? Sometimes some of us want to judge, have no grace in us. And when we stop and we listen, it's because why? The person is working. Up to this week here, someone asked me if I could have loaned them money. When I heard why it is they wanted the money, which was literally just to have transportation for the children to go to school, I said, I'll do you one better. I will give you the money. But once I am heading out and you all are out there when I am heading out, I will drop you all because they're on my way to where I am going most days. I am not trying to raise a riot against any particular national in Trinidad and Tobago, any particular race, but I'm asking for fear to be across the board. That's all. So, Ranaston, I don't know if you want to add anything, but I think I could adjourn this topic here for the time being. because this is something I'm going to be sending to the newspapers to ask them to publish. I'm also going to be sharing it on social media that people can actually, I think I might try to narrate it in order for it to reach out wider audience. So not just the words, but it would be narrated while viewing the words. So who want to read could read, and who want to listen could listen.
I mean,
Because it's
you're
about
taking the topic to a different level, because I heard it in here when they would have said you have anger for these Syrian businessmen within the area of Port of Spain.
I do,
And
because they advantage us and like nobody not seeing it.
yeah, but you're not
How
saying,
could you have a person work Sunday to Sunday when they're spending time with the children? When they get into rest, they're standing up Sunday to Sunday. If you're in the store, they cannot even lean up. Because why? They don't want to get dismissed. All you're not working the jobs that all you're offering. Yeah? You're not living in the places that these people living in. Half of them living in places they had to duck and weave. Because why? It would be bullets. But all you're not living there. All you don't have a heart or a conscience to understand that give people when you get. They see what your profit margins are. They know what your profits look like. So when you going home with 300% profit, and they could barely make,
because
boy,
the working the life out of the people that is there. I mean,
let me call
if it's
one of the
about
stores' name.
security,
You know why I would call one of the stores' name? When I was younger, I was in school, and just you know, you used to have your weekend jobs, and then like holidays and stuff, you would be working just to earn your keep. So one of the stores I worked at, you see Detours? Let me tell you what Detours does. When Christmas comes, they would give you what you call these things? I got one the other day, it's not a hamper. They give you the credit unions, and they just give it is a little gift card.
right? A gift card.
And remember back then, Detours was a fully male store. If you are a family that is only a husband and all your children is female, how much clothes could your husband have from the same store for every year? If he have a special occasion, you're buying there because you want to get whatever discount they give you. If he his regular everyday clothes is from there. But yet still when the Christmas comes, instead of giving a little ham and a turkey, they say, well, we appreciate you. They're giving you a gift card to shop back in the same store.
Just
It makes sense.
yeah, that real sad and truth. But we have a voice note here, matter of fact. I mean, I was chastised for last week for not playing voice note, but sorry, let me play this voice note.
All right. I need to formulate my thoughts before I respond to what Kizzy is saying tonight. I'm actually appalled, and I want to take a little while to formulate my thoughts before I respond to what you were saying tonight. My comment tonight is about the stuff you was talking about last time with the medical tourism. Here's an idea where medical tourism could actually work. Actually, like an actual real plan, right? China developed a cure for diabetes, right? So far, this treatment is only available in China. If the Trinidad and Tobago government could partner with China to get this technology brought to Trinidad and Tobago, that right there will fuel medical tourism like you've never seen before. So, so I did a lot of thinking about it, and besides the BBLs and other stuff, medical tourism is a bad idea unless you can offer services that are not available readily in the United States. And this diabetes cure that China offers, I think, is something that will actually make that plan work. I'll call back later regarding my thoughts to what Kizia was saying tonight, because I'm very upset.
Right, Kizzy? So, I mean, you heard, you would
Okay.
have heard it.
Well, I'm not sure why he's upset, but if it's what the medical tourism upset him or what it is I'm saying now that is upsetting him, but either which way, everything right now is upsetting. So I agree with him that he's upset. But I just wanted to interject for just a quick second because that topic is still at hand. I was going to close off this 10% public private servants fiasco that we're dealing with and bring in something else as well regarding the medical tourism. Now, I'm glad that he took some time to think on it and see that the possibility exists that medical tourism is an option available to us. Because India Health Group is looking into Trinidad and Tobago for patients. And that has been happening for quite a while. Last year, and I don't want to jump, but I just want to answer his question real quick. Last year, I was on the beach in Blanchisseuse, and we met a couple of people there. One of the persons there indicated that she had to take her husband to India to get a kidney transplant. They purchased the kidney and it was transplanted in India because selling an organ is legal in India. Tobago will not have a market if the US is there. Not everyone could afford to go to the US, but many people are still in need of that very same service. So if we are able to tap into that resource, offer the same thing at a lesser cost, it does not take away from what the US does. Because there are many people in the US that's untreated, but the US is not our market. Our market is the Caribbean islands who have to convert to the level of US, whether by 2 point something or like ourselves 7 point something, and Jamaica and Guyana whose conversion is even higher. These people have to be seen. You avoid the whole visa requirements, the whole cost of finding somewhere to stay, because that's a separate cost. The US does implement high costs when you're doing medical procedures there. So not just you stay in the hospital. If you have to stay somewhere else after being discharged, you have that to pay. It's not going to be cheap. You're going to have your food. The most economical cost factor for anybody who is trying to seek help for their loved ones and they cannot afford what the US is offering. Understand this, and I'm stressing on it. Cannot afford what the US is offering. Because if a BBL, look, it have celebrities who don't even do their procedures in the US unless a doctor is doing it for some type of exposure. They would leave there and go to so many other Caribbean islands. That is for the cosmetic side. There are so many people who leave the US and used to go to Cuba. Hear me well, because Cuba and the embargo that prevents US citizens from going there to do anything at all has literally crippled a lot of US citizens, that they can't go there. So if US citizens were utilizing Cuba for surgeries because it was cheaper, who tell you we would not have the opportunity to capture some of what the US is pushing aside? Because everything is insurance. And if it have some insurance companies that do not cover everything in the US, they will tell you, and you will only know that when you get to the hospital and they start to call out what they have to do on you. And then when you do realize, it's because they're telling you your insurance was rejected because they do not cover that procedure. And that is minor and major surgeries, not electives or cosmetics. Renison?
Yeah, Kezia. I mean, concerning the article that you would have sent to me today concerning that cosmetic side of the over 300 people sick, and I just a quick read it. Over 300 people have already been seeking the service of medical tourism in Trinidad and Tobago. How can you
Yes.
incorporate that into what you are saying now?
Now, that 300 persons are only what the private facilities in Trinidad and Tobago could actually entertain. That's their maximum threshold based on their facility capacity, etc.
Hold,
The requirement
hold
of
1 second. I'm gonna just play this voice note before you go on. It's the same person.
It
not
sounds to me
surprised.
that Kezia's tired of capitalism. You know, businesses will do what businesses do. You live in a capitalist country, you live in a capitalist society where basically what capitalism is the rich get richer, and they take advantage of those that can be taken advantage of. So it seems to me you're tired of the system. Let's look into ways to change that.
Well, there you have it.
He's now singing my language, and this is not something I get fed up of now, because I mentioned that I used to work for the company, but I was always a kind of, I wouldn't say rebellious, but I do not like advantage. I don't like people being used. So from the time I see that you are dispositioning attitude of using someone or advantaging them, I operate differently. The me, wouldn't be the me you meet on that day. Simply because when I saw and I felt as though I was being advantaged, I walked. I am the type of person I will get up and I would leave your establishment. You wouldn't even know when I'm going. That's to give you an idea. Another store that I worked in when I was going to school as well, I did the same thing. I walked out when I every 2 seconds, customer that was Westport. Then you can't sit down. And I realized, and I was nursing a broken ankle those years, not to even mention now. But when I realized what you're telling me, listen, because I was young, they decided to tell me I will get the 11 o'clock. I came into work 9 o'clock, yeah? But you're telling me I will get lunch for 11 o'clock. Well, boy, they never saw me after that. A couple, about months after, I walked in the store to buy clothes for the job that I was in at the time. And the girl remembered me. She said, we have a check for you. Well, it wasn't check back then. It was the little envelope with your salary in it. And I had some change. I said, well, look how I paying for what it is I came into the store for that day. Maria, if you're hearing me, you remember that situation, love?
You saying that you walk out of the store, you walk out of the job, them.
Listen. If I walk again,
Now, the same gentleman with a message on the chat saying that you're ready for a revolution. Kezia wants resources of the country to be used by the country. And what he would have said prior is that you are looking, Kezia wants a revolution. So, I don't know, I don't know if my boy detecting something. I don't know if you want to start at 1990 or some kind of thing. So, I am just saying.
well, listen. When it will have little back then stories every now and again. So picture it. I'm going back to Golden Girls now. Picture it. Sometime when I was about 4 or 5, my mother had us in town. And this lady, I think she grabbed my clothes at the time and she told my mother, you see this one? She's a different one, you know. She's going to be doing a lot. Well, if you understand the Caribbean atmosphere, when things like that happening, you assume that the person is looking into a spiritual side. So at that point, my mother grabbed onto me and she went about her merry way. But as years started to pass, and my teachers and they would have spoken to her and stuff, she reminded me. Now, I didn't forget because I do remember the situation. I could tell you where we were, what store was there, and it was an amazement to know that I remember the store that was right there that is no longer there now when that woman did that. But my mother would always, while I was growing up, remember this, remember that. And, just encouragement to keep pushing, going to school, doing what you're supposed to do, focus. Yeah. So, yes, I am ready for a revolution. As there is a God above, I wish Abu Bakr was alive right now. Because I feel unless I get Ibrahim Traore to come to Trinidad, I feel that's the only man that had the guts to do anything, to stand up for this country. Because I would say yes, but where is the support? And guess what? It don't have to be a 1990 insurrection, a coup of the 1990, Shut down this country. Nobody goes nowhere. You want to fire us? Let me see if you could hire from the same people that you had to fire. Because it's all of us. Every bank. When the bank shut down and no trade going on, you know how much international calls they're going to get? What's going on with all you? What's happening? Government, from captain to cook, going and get call. Bank, central bank, everybody. We cannot take away the auxiliary of national security and of the Ministry of Health. But let everybody for administration stay home. We stay home. Because let me tell you something. When COVID was here and they wanted to prove their point, you're going to make a child. The first thing they tell you is you have COVID. I know someone I dropped off personally with a broken arm. Go on my way and I call to say, well, all right, I'm coming back for you this hour. When I call, you ready? No, girl, they say I have COVID. I say, you say what? You went in with a broken arm. Mend your arm and send you out. They tell me I have COVID. So we all have COVID. We all have rabies. We all have yas. We have all kind of thing right now. Just to shut this country down. Because if we shut the country down, and trust me, they cannot survive 5 days. So after the first day, we will see demands being met. Demands would be met. And realistic demands. Because we're already dealing with the 10% situation. That's when money comes. But you see price regulation and stipulation and price scheduling, important. You see that private sector that like a runaway horse doing whatever they want, raping the private sector servants. You take away commission and you still want me to fight for sales? Let me tell you something. If I was working in those stores now, customers come in the stores, can I help you? No. Could you help me? Could you help me? I want to know if your things could sell itself. You bring your trucks, who loading it? Who packing your shelves? Who keeping your place in order? I could speak from experience because they were wicked from long. I tell you, how could you give? You watch a woman with girl children and give her a gift certificate for your store. Back then, you were only doing men. Really? You're telling me that's not wicked and evil? That's not a slave trade? It's a legal slave trade because minimum wage is the legal wage that the government stipulates. So you're hiding under that. But if it was to give a commission based on sales, plenty of the employees getting way more. Them, the children, they're not coming out to do the jobs that they want people to do. The children, the grandchildren, the nana, the tanty, They all, whoever, they're not coming out to do it. They are the ones that pass through. The only store I can tell you that I admire the owners being there when the workers are there is Jimmy Abood and Yips, Importer Spain. And they don't make joke by the time they close it, even during Christmas time. So it's not whenever, like the other stores just tell you when you ask the workers, what time are they closing? We know now, whenever, when it had nobody in the store. Really? These people don't have to clean their house, prepare for the holiday, tend to the children, rest, and get up the next day to do it all over again? You're not doing it. You're not coming in your store to ask a customer how they're doing. You're not. I want the people of Trinidad and Tobago to realize the power we have. Boycott these people from a please.
Kezia, look, somebody say if Trinidad shut down, we go become like Haiti for 5. If we shut down for 5 days, we go become like Haiti.
Oh, really? Ibrahim Traore did it. And right now they have all going on. Because they have gold, they have oil, they have all kinds of things that we don't have. All everybody indicating or want to be commenting is what the negatives are. What about the positives? What about, because I don't know if all you realize, this is what Trinidad has. It has filthy rich, as the voice noter just said, the capitalist. So it have the filthy rich and the dirt poor. You ain't have no middle class because it have people who getting an average of $15,000 a month. And all because they don't want to live in gun-ridden areas, they're paying $6,000 and $7,000 in rent. I could call 4 names right now. One was working Petrotrin, so now that she out, well, she started back working, but when she was out of work, she still had that rent to pay. When would you all understand we have the power? The same commenter that just indicate that we will be like Haiti, why you didn't say that right now the US economy is in shambles? You all not paying attention to that. Because the US have very minimal, the percentage of manufacturing in the US right now is to the most minimal. Guess what? They boycott Walmart and Dollar General. Just to prove a point. So if we shut the country down for just a day or 2, we tell them it's a week. Because if we can't start seeing positive change in the interest of the citizens, change don't always have to be, a demand doesn't always have to be monetary. It just has to be realistic to a person achieving food, clothing, shelter, transport, and communication. First, they're wicked and bad. COVID came, a lot of people lost their jobs who had to take salary decrease. That same time, food went up. You know what they did? I remember I was paying $100 for internet. You're getting more customers now because school went online. And look how long they kept school online. But no, you did that with a purpose. So you increase the cost and made it a demand. You didn't tell me all you're wicked and bad. And this is the PNM government I'm talking about. Because I tell you, I have a bone to pick with them too. Because I wrote a lot of letters. A lot of the information I'm sharing with you, Renison, if I show you the dates it was done, pay to print, buy envelope, write it up nice, drop it off.
All of that you're doing, paying and printing it and...
Listen, because I wanted to see people, I wanted to see the government do well and understand that if they do the right thing as much as possible, because you're going to have the duncy fool that will want to keep your hand in cookie jar. You're going to have it. So you leave them and you just deal with the rest, just to do the right thing for the citizens. Less arrogance, eh? Less arrogance. Because a man for all season mean that me and you go bounce up in the road. If you don't understand the Caribbean plans to that book, it means that you and I will meet in the road. What you gonna do? If you get shot and I get shot, it's not the same hospital we're going to. You ain't gonna need blood, I ain't gonna need blood. And you could get cancer, I could get cancer. Come on, man. Make it make sense. So I have a bone to pick with the last government. I want to let the current one understand that there are ways and means for us to get out of the rut we are in. We have all kind of ideas. We have the agriculture. We have the medical tourism. Prime Minister herself created that children's hospital, turn it into a money-making venture that we need. We need the U.S. Look, all you're trying to find out where the U.S. came from to pay for Vibes Cartel. No other island in the Caribbean have a U.S. problem. When you're walking, how much do you want? Give me 5, give me 10, and they're giving you. They don't want to know where you're working, where you're getting money from. They don't want to know nothing. Have a nice day. There's no special line, no special request. You can't get this, you can't get that. So why Trinidad and Tobago, that was a nation that can't go back to that? We don't have the pitch. We don't have the oil. Okay, mistakes were made. Just fix it. We have the hospitals that were refurbished. Prime Minister herself built the children's hospital. All you need to do, turn it into a money-making venture. We needed, the country needed, the people need it. Back pay for the public servants.
Good night, caller.
And with that, they could demand.
Good night, caller. What is your contribution tonight?
Yeah, good night, Mr. Jeffrey. Good night, Miss Kizia. So, Miss Kizia, I'm listening to you, right? So you say there's no more middle class, but you could remember a video where a certain cook went by a certain percentage of people, and he said he was the most powerful, and be wiping out the middle class. Now, who do you think it is that the middle class was wiped out of Trinidad and Tobago?
Because they knew the middle class would.
You know, it's the funny thing. We had a bank coming in here called Afro-Exempt Bank. And you know the reason why they didn't introduce it? Taxes. But then, when you're hearing Movie Town and certain establishment, millions of dollars worth of taxes didn't pay. But an Afro-Exempt Bank coming in for Black citizens in Trinidad and Tobago with opportunity to have businesses, opportunity
because the 1%ers would have realized.
You cannot take your deed for your property and go to the bank to get loan. Not to educate your children, not to upgrade your house. Nothing. And who fault is that? Who fault is that? Is 90% of the time, PNM was in power. No, we want to hold
listen, I don't say I have PNM up in arms, right?
I just saying, we want to hold, you say you want to hold UNC accountable. But there's statistics state that when UNC was in power, less Black people was living under the poverty line. And if you go in Google and you go in records, you will see that. And if you look at the index in corruption, 10 years, PNM was in power. We high on the corruption scale. And this is something that we have to address. We cannot hold UNC accountable. I will hold UNC accountable after a year because there's a lot of logistics have to go on, a lot of auditing, a lot of stuff we have to see come forward. You cannot expect somebody in 6 weeks to give you all the answers that you need. And thank you very much.
Caller before.
Don't let him go.
No, he
No,
went.
no, you go.
You see, what I wanted was to answer is this, Kezia. Now, I heard those statistics before, and I at
It
one
is
point,
incorrect.
and I wanted at one point in time used to quote those same statistics. It's not incorrect.
Incorrect.
No. It actually is correct, but at the same
But I
time,
said
here.
why it's incorrect. But go
No,
ahead.
no. If you look at the data, he is going to see what he's saying there to be true. But
And
listen,
I
what
will
is the
tell you
issue?
why it's not. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
there is something called the Comhock theory. The Comhock theory is when there are two things taking place at the same time. So listen, what's going on. Around 2010 to 2015, jobs for black people. I mean, it had more jobs for black people. It's true. It had more jobs for the country because we was in a boom at that point in time. It's not literally because it was caused by one government. You see, it's a clever way. It come like this.
That's what I was going into. Why I would tell
Why I want to explain it a little
Go
more.
ahead.
The statistics was to expose this thing that they call the Comhock theory. I mean, there was this man that in America that used to sell ice cream, and he find in the summer the more ice cream he sell, the more crime go up. That was in Miami, and he would have went to evaluate the statistics, and they was not seeing no correlation between the two. And we had was to look at factors outside of him just selling the ice cream. And they would have said, around summertime, people was more visible, people had more access, people could have go here, they could have go there. So it was factors outside of that, obviously, not because you selling ice cream and thing. Now PNM was ruling after the period at the big oil boom. So it will appear this way. We had to use logic and we had to use facts. But what happened is that there are a lot of people want us, tell certain things. But anyway, Kezia, do you think the guy calling back, put him on?
Just now. Put him on, but let him hold a second. Because
Yes.
I want to address what was just said.
Yes.
Tell him to hold.
Hold on just now. Let Kezia talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, any change that cannot be sustained is not change. It's temperance. It's for a short period of time and to no long-term benefit. Anybody that is in economics, business, finance will tell you whatever you do has to be for longevity. Now, you mentioned the boom and all of that. What the last UNC administration did was give more offerings. But when you are assessing it from a business strategic standpoint, when you make those offerings, you have to sustain them.
Well, Kezia,
Not
stop
give it.
right there. Let me hear
Out.
what the caller say. Caller.
Good night again, Mr. Jeffrey. Good night again, Kezia. You see,
I'm not hearing you
this
well,
is-
love.
this is-
If you could talk
Yeah,
a little
you hear me
louder,
now?
please.
you hear me now?
Jeffrey, you could do anything on your end about that?
Caller say
Yeah, you hear me now?
right. Kezia, think are you hearing now?
I'm hearing him. Go ahead.
All right.
Right. So they closed down Petrotrin, right? Without a contingency
I was
plan.
happy about that.
How many people was employed in Petrotrin? Right?
I agree with you
They
on
make,
that.
they make a decision to close down a refinery that employs 10, 15,000 people, right? Without a contingency plan. And the second thing, what the UNC was doing, although it was temporary what it was doing to give more people employment, they was educating the children. With education or manufacturing and all those stuff would have been easier for them because we was entering an age of technology. Now we in AI is taking people's jobs. Where are we in Trinidad in the face of technology? We're way behind. And you see, that's what was the UNC was doing. They were building schools to educate the children so that we could be entrepreneurs, we could do different things. I know a lady in Tobago that makes perfumes, lady perfumes. And not one time the government will say that he's going to promote that. If they had helped this lady and give her the proper loans and them, she would have employed at least, because Sasha started from the ground. And you see, this is the thing. So when the UNC was building schools to educate the children, to make them advance so that manufacturing and it will come out of this dependency. You see, the PNM keep people in dependency, right? And they make knee-jerk reactions to certain situations because they think it was right, but not right for the country and not right for the citizen. You see, PNM is an institute that embedded in this country. And there's a lot of people who like what is going on because they eat, as we say, eat our food. And this is have to stop. We hear all these contracts given out in the Levantil area. But where the wealth is, we're not seeing it. So who really gave the contracts? And this is the corruption part that I'm talking about. Now, as I see, we would like to hold UNC in one hand and PNM in one hand and try to compare them. But we have to give them a year. After a year, then we could start to make choices and make decisions. Now, I agree to make a promise for the 10%, but we have to wait. We have to see after the mid-year budget, we'll see all these statistics, where the money is, what money is coming, where's our GDP, where's our debt to GDP, and then we could make our assumption. And that's all I'm saying. But it's a very good conversation. Look on listening.
Well, caller, I agree with you to a certain extent.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just waiting for Kezia to come back on. But hey, Kezia, are you on?
Yeah, I'm not. You know the situation as being mobile I use it.
Well, I understand. Be mobile. All right. I want to say hello to everybody on the app. Just so everybody who on the chat on YouTube. Miss Nadira, Miss Candice Edwards, who was just on. A matter of fact, good night to you. Yes, Miss Nadira, going good. Are going good. Right. So, Miss Kezia, you would have heard the caller. And what you have to say?
What he said, and I pulled him up on YouTube. I listened to the rest of what he was saying. But let me say this. Now, I'm not holding UNC accountable for their current actions because international statistics, I was in London in a conference back in the last UNC administration. And the impression of Trinidad and Tobago in that forum, even when they had asked the UK for a loan, and they said that we are mismanaging our business because your country is a business. This is statistics. You might be still able to pull it up on BBC. The parliament in the UK indicated that they would not have assisted Trinidad and Tobago at that time. We were in the height, was I think the third year after the money started to run low, and the UK said no, they weren't intervening. Yeah. So I don't hold UNC accountable for who they are now. I hold them accountable for what they were, because when you are looking at the country being in a bad state the last 10 years, I will tell you no, love. We were in a bad state the last 15 years, which is statistical review that you could pull up on the same Google you spoke of. We had 5 years of a bad UNC government, rats falling off the ships here and there. where it was very unstable. Every Monday morning was a different change of underwear, meaning a different minister, or a minister deciding he leaving XYZ. Understand what I'm telling you? It was 15 years of a bad economical state of Trinidad and Tobago.
And Kezia, you would have said something just now there concerning if you make change, it needs to be sustainable. And I feel
Correct.
you should reiterate that point and go in a little deeper.
Okay. So, well, I was actually going to go more into it when the caller called again. So, just to give him the opportunity to speak, we stuck a pin there. So, sustainability, for example, let me break it down to the individual, because it is the same elements of managing a person that manages a business, that manages a country, the same elements. The level in which it's done is the difference. So let me get that clear. If you decide that you get a new job, but the job only going to last for 6 months, would you rent somewhere for $10,000 a month? And there's a realistic scenario, somebody I tell you, $10,000 a month? Or would you try to live under the same conditions you were living before that opportunity came? Save your money, buy yourself a piece of property, build yourself something for you to live, and maybe rent out an apartment or two. Because remember, your employment is only for 6 months. That is what sustainability is. It is making an offering. Okay, the offering here was you changing your lifestyle to a $10,000 rent and all kind of fancy can stuff for 6 months. And after the 6 months, you went back to worse than you started before, because you had no money in savings, and before you had, now you don't. And then you had to go back to worse than you were before. So where you were in a okay neighborhood with a 2-bedroom house and you rent low and all of that, as soon as you moved, the rent went up, take a back there. And now you're going back to only being able to afford what the rent there used to be. But now the only places you'll get those type of rents is in gun-ridden areas. That is what sustainability is in a nutshell. So when you look at that in terms of a country, if the country is not working, the elements of the country, the resources of the country is not generating an income, your offerings are only that to a comfort of a fool. Hence the reason for our show, hence the reason for our discussion, hence the reason for us presenting what plans and research that was done, to at least let the government know we're not against you. We're with you. But we're with you if you're with us. The people of Trinidad and Tobago, the ones who have to eat, drink, and sleep here. Eating, drinking, and living in places, or you will not do those things. Except for the Alsing. Because he get his phone stolen by the bar. Right? That's another story I could give. All of my life really eventful. If I give all your stories, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But I'm not going there tonight. But it has to be food for thought to understand that the only way Trinidad and Tobago could change is in the unity of the minority majority, meaning the people that are the least suspected, but in the mass of volume. If you want to divide us into the mixed, we at least have a 33%. If you want to divide us into Indian, we at least have a 33%. If you want to divide us into Africans, we at least have a 33%. Add those 33s together, that is 99. Why we have 1% running us? Why? And It's the same mentality of 1% in the US, but stores like Walmart and Dollar General can't see their way right now. Ibrahim Touare, by himself, rope in as many as he could have, and he fight that battle to get where he is today. Look, all of them want to kill him. Don't kill me, yeah? Please. Because at the end of the day, I still have much to do.
Well, you're frightened now. You're frightened now. Now somebody would have said there in the chat there that somebody would have said there in the chat why UNC lost the last election in 2020, 2015.
And the same reason why PNM lost this time. The people were demanding things, but there were no money to facilitate it. However, in this particular case, UNC didn't give themselves an increase in salary and tell people to take that, put it in the pipe and smoke it.
No.
What they did was they forfeited. So they weren't arrogant and grand charging, but it was the exact same reason. When the money ran out and there was no way to generate any more, nothing to sell off, nothing to give off, nothing to do. And they didn't want to be the ones to close Petrotrin. Because at that point, they did not even want it to be known that Petrotrin was holding up the entire country. We had no pitch, manufacturing, agriculture, nothing was really going on here. But we spending, we drinking champagne, and we only had Moby budget. So it was the exact same reason the last UNC administration lost. And it's the exact same reason, with some arrogance, that the PNM lost. It was a landslide both times. Which meant that the same people that I am indicating have power, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, the 99%ers, that have power to make the difference, we already did. We did it at the polls and we changed government. It's the same people that...
Well, we have a call.
Go ahead.
We have a call online again, Miss Kezia. I know you're heated, but go ahead, caller. Let me hear your comment here this afternoon.
So Mr. Jeffrey and Miss Kezia. Miss Kezia, did you read the Lashley and the Solomon report about Petrotrin?
I think I'm not quite sure. There was so many
because of the email gate,
that I looked into.
And then the same man hired Gary Griffith, and Gary Griffith said the email gate wasn't good. You see, so just memory.
That wasn't the same report that spoke about the particular drill that we needed to tap into the oil resource.
When the Lashley and the Solomon report say that a restructure, and David Abdullah came and say a restructure. Look at point 14, the heart and soul of this country. And where it is right now. You see, they did feasible studies, just like with the rapid rail. How much millions they spent on the rapid rails? And nothing come out of it. And you know what was the excuse? All the time? That UNC object. They try to sell Petrotrin, but they bring in a man with corruption. They say UNC say that. So UNC had more power than them when UNC was in power. You see, won't we just fail to remember the oil and gas is our heart and soul, and we never did anything to diversify this economy. And now with technology, we're trying to diversify now, and technology taking over, and then we go in with renewable energy soon.
Just now, caller, you deserve to be to the front of the class. I had to give you applause for that.
I agree with him there too. Because we didn't.
We never take the chance to diversify. We never take the chance to diversify. That is why we're in this problem.
But it's still not too late.
All right, so let me give somebody else a chance to call and enjoy any conversation.
It's not too late. There is still a lot of opportunities. We have medical facilities that were just renovated. Whether we do BBLs and bring in millions and billions from that, it matters not. Whether we tap into China and their research cure for diabetes, I think the other callers, the voice noter said, or whether we let India, well, no, India want to take our clients, so no, we can't go there. Sorry, forget India. Yeah, but no matter what we take, there's a saying where donkey reach, where horse reach, donkey does reach. I don't want to say the way it does really be said, but wherever horse reach, donkey does reach. We have too many governments making mistakes with our economy.
True.
All I am saying is fix the mistakes. You have a second chance. It have time. It have opportunity. Go ahead and do it. And if you don't know it for yourself, there's a show called, I don't know if it's still there, a game show. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? But one of the options they have is a phone a friend. If you don't know it for yourself, phone a friend. Go back to the books. Pull the drawing board. We have the University of the West Indies. Put it to the students. Let them draw up ideas. Create a caucus group. Let that caucus group generate ideas for you, and then let the developers develop it and see. Because now that we have AI could take your idea and tell you how plausible it is. And I could only boast because all they keep telling me about AI, and I'm now learning. So I could boast. Ask AI.
Watch out.
After all my research that I did in the past, pen and paper, full like me, I should have known AI since then. I know it wasn't around since then, but I'm just saying. I took those same researches and I copied and pasted into one of the AI engines. And it literally told me how plausible the medical tourism was one of those that copied and pasted into it. And the AI said, yes, Trinidad and Tobago is viable for medical tourism. So the voice noted that saying, no, I want him to ask AI, because then if AI telling me yes, and then it turned and tell he yes.
No, well,
Because
I'm glad.
Did it too.
I'm glad you're talking about AI. A matter of fact, we are going to air a video tomorrow concerning AI technology. AI technology is on a different level. Right now, people making movies out of AI, and it's like it blowing off my mind right about now.
Well, that's something I want to talk to you about. So that's our conversation for another time. We don't get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
That is the cut.
Right.
Because there is something that I have that I think we could collaborate on. But what the people of Trinidad and Tobago have to realize, the power is loaned to the government. If they are abusing that power like the last government did, because as I said to you all many times in these broadcasting, UNC didn't win by a landslide by themselves. UNC supporters, initial supporters, were not enough to bring UNC back in. It was a lot of PNM voters who realized that PNM had gotten too big for the bridges, and they needed was to shut it down. And you all were given a second chance based on people. So all what everybody's saying, or every comment, is not about bashing. Understand, this is not
Bluetooth
bashing.
connected.
This is wanting the government not to make mistakes, not to repeat mistakes. And if you want to be there for long term, the opportunity and potential is there for you to be there long term. A government could stay in power for as long as they want, once they're doing what the people need. But if you're not doing it, like the last PNM administration, when they felt, well, they got 2 terms, and they felt that the citizenry was strippery and doefish, and would have bring them in for another term, when they used your young as scapegoat, and let me stay off politics.
Yeah. At the same time, before you go on, Miss Kezia, I know you're fired up tonight. I don't know if you might be drink a punch last night. I know. So remember, remember, people outside, the many of you that are listening, this is a live broadcast that is going on here now is 9:19. 9:19, a matter of fact. So, the many of you that are outside is slimy. I need it from you. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Slimy was when he heard what I was saying in the beginning, he wanted to know what I hear, and that was his first comment. What
Yeah,
I hear
smile,
about
smile,
the
slimy
job
belly tin.
situation.
Slimy belly tin. It does have other people who does sting, but I really like to hear him talk because he does have a lot of comments, a lot of things to say. He always in the chat saying this, saying that, saying this, and saying that. I wanted two of you all to have practically a dialogue as to hear somebody's ideas.
I would
Sometimes,
have liked to.
what do you think?
I would have loved to, because remember I told you he made me go and research AI to include AI in the medical tourism and show how vastly AI would be in assisting in the process and how profitable it would be even more.
So,
So I
so
mean I would
seeing,
love to hear from him.
so seeing that you bring the facts now, we could safely say that he's running and ducking and hiding. He don't want to have that.
I wouldn't say that, because you have to remember we living in a society now that you have to watch your words. There's few of us willing to be the change we want to see without fear or favor, and it could be an element of that not wanting people to know who he is really. Um, but at the end of the day, somebody has to stand up. I am pretty sure Ibrahim Traore didn't want to be a Madiba. To him, Nelson Mandela went already. But because he saw the need for his nation and how great Africa could be, just like how great the Caribbean could be, we have a lot going on here. We have a lot going on in Trinidad. He saw that dream, just like Mandela saw the dream. And he decided to champion it. It has to start with somebody. I am not sure that it's going to be started with me, but I am voicing my opinion and my experiences. And the thing is, I don't say anything that I never experienced myself. So how I can indicate that I used to work Detours and Westport when I was younger, and what happened for both of them is my experiences. The thing about it is the opportunity to rewrite that story is at all of our fingertips. So if it is he at this time doesn't think he is, he say he listening in the background, but if he thinks he doesn't,
Yeah, but that is fear, Kezia. That is fear. You
it
see,
may be
what?
so, but well warranted. We are not in a
Yeah.
society now.
Because for him to face up somebody like you that have all the data, he should be fearful. I understand,
See
Kezia.
how bacchanal with you. It's black away you lie. That's what I say. Slimy
No,
is not saying that.
no, you are all the data there, and a matter of fact, I see where you take
My
that.
research, and I
Yes,
have been doing my research for
and you
years.
see where you take that drink a punch in there. Huh. Yeah, unstoppable. You know how remind man. You ever seen that news? With Kenneth Sipasad, he making sure before he go out, he drinking he drinking a shot in the corner, and he put it down.
Listen, no, they're making it a situation that you need to deal with not sober. To deal with the kind of things that we deal with on a daily basis. I tell you, when the person approached me and she said she was surprised that I mentioned the private servants. How
Echoes,
she thought
Echoes, go ahead
everybody
and
was
call her,
doing.
man. Go ahead and call. Go ahead and call. Echoes want to know if you can call. Go ahead, Echoes. This is a free show, man. I mean, we like when many of you air your opinion here. I mean, just keep, don't be disrespectful. That is all. Can see, I'm not hearing here. Something.
Yeah, sorry.
What went on there?
Yeah. No, I was just calling out to someone to do something.
Oh, right. I want to know what's going on there. All right. All right. You get my friend there. I say, well,
No,
this program was
no, we
sticking.
good, we good.
Right.
Right? Yeah, but it is not an environment that people could. Another call.
Yes, we have a.
Go ahead.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, hello again, Jeff, and hello again, Mrs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what about aqua farming? Why we don't invest in that? Because you know how much money America make in aqua farming. Jeff, do a quick Google and see how much money they make with aqua farming in America.
Yeah.
Are we surrounded by water? We could have facilities. That's something that we could do easier than doing the medical tourism as now for now. Because you know the medical tourism will take a lot of studies and a lot to be able to bring down the cost from competing across the world. And we need to do certain things that is easier to diversify the economy and then go into the higher stages like medical tourism. So aqua farming, sporting tourism, things like that. We could start because it's something that would take planning, but not as much planning as medical tourism. You see, we're gonna compete against the world in medical tourism for prices, for accommodation, and for the institute where they're going to stay. Now, people are going to spend 20,000 US dollars to come to stay in a hospital that is not 21st century or 22nd century. They want facilities. They're not going to go in in them old horror movies, them places do operation where they see one set of old equipment. They don't want that. So I think we could the aqua farming, sports tourism, and simple again the agriculture. We could start to incorporate agriculture from in primary school straight into secondary school. Teach children the fun it is in farming. Farming is not a poor man
Is it why they want to go back to
job.
common entrance and
Because that's what a lot of
invest?
people see. Oh, that's too much of farms in America here is multi-millionaires. If you see the land and equipment and stuff they have, and this is where we need to introduce it also. I would like your thoughts on that. Hey, good night, Mr. Sanders. Happy this year. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, caller. I mean, when the guy say he make I have to admit
I
he made a
agree.
lot of sense concerning this thing. I mean, yeah, 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 yeah. I
I
very
sent
much
you a
agree.
link today about aqua farming, but this was regarding feed for all types of animals that were um, less chemicals and stuff, but still promotes the growth and productivity of the animals. I'm not sure if I sent you that link, but today I viewed a link that doing exactly that, and it's a aqua plant that multiplies from the smallest piece in the shortest space of time. And all you have to do is take it and give it to them to eat, and they eat it. So, I agree with the caller with respects to the aqua farming. I agreed with our last week's caller with respects to agriculture. But I think that you all are of the assumption, because this caller mentioned that the hospitals have old equipment and stuff like that. That was the old ones, not the renovated ones that we have right now. And Oral is there to testify. And I have other people that could testify the facilities. And myself, Cassie, go to the car and bring the gray book that is in the car, the diary like this. I want to show a diary. And it's the only thing I have, because at the time I didn't think doing this I needed any more proof. But the Chinese company that worked on Port of Spain and some of the other hospitals, I had to collaborate with them from time to time. And not for Trinidad, for other islands. And I can tell you, when we took a walk around of what they did with Port of Spain, I mean, I don't want to mark myself in any way, but I could get a major issue right now, because I would love to lie down in one of those beds. I would love to embrace the ambience of the rooms. And you telling me, I think it's because the callers and they have not really had an experience with what they've done with the hospitals right now.
So we're talking about the current state of the hospitals.
The current state of the hospitals under the renovation is up to par to start. At least start with our Caribbean counterparts, because let me tell you something. We may not be international worthy, but we are damn sure regional worthy. Because I don't know if you, let me tell you something. Anytime I travel to the other islands, the first thing I just tell them, anytime I collapse, put me on a pirogue and point me in the direction of at least Tobago. Because they're worse off than us here. Not in a bad. The level of care we get here, and we just still quarrel about it, they ain't even getting half of that day. Many of them just leave there and come here just to go to our general hospital. Far more if they have money, they leave where they are and come here to go to the private facilities. And don't put me to the test that could call names. And when I tell you the institutions, those institutions will be like, because you know why? They will realize I know the business. They're not asking. I'm telling you all, it is already being done. And that is on the small scale of who can, the people who come from the Caribbean islands to us currently in the private sectors are still the ones who have money. Let me put it in a basic term. They have money. So they can take a bit of currency under the seat, have a gray one to this, or in one of the depots. Sorry about that. But they come here. Those are the ones that don't have money. They will go to the public. But the ones that come and go to the privates are the ones that have money, but not enough to go to the US. Because the cost of getting treated and facilitated in the US would be higher than what they could actually afford. So they tap into our resource. If we are already doing 300 and something, tell me why it is we cannot open those numbers. Because we're going to be cheaper than the private sector. So it still creates a niche for the private sector, for the ones who have that disposable income to facilitate their level of service. But then there are the ones who cannot get basic surgeries like we do here, though it may be on a schedule for however long it may be. It's still better than nothing because they don't even have a schedule. Is that you're dying? Okay. It ain't that we could do a surgery for you in a year time, so we will sustain you and treat you until then. They don't have that option. They do not. And I have a few people that I told about this show that is on the chat that is not from here, and they could testify. This is the diary that I was given by the Chinese company that worked on the general hospital. All right? You can't buy this, no way. And I ain't go to China. It's the only thing I have that I could show you all, that the things that are talking, I'm making it up. Everything is in Chinese. You can see? Look.
Kezia, we're not hearing you anymore.
Well, probably it's a good opportune time for me to say a pleasant good night, comrade. And let me say welcome to all our viewers and listeners. It's indeed a pleasure to be back on the program tonight. I left South and I came up within a reasonable time. Enough to hear what the other comrade would have been saying, our caller. And let me first say thank you to that brother, because clearly he's listening to the program and he's thinking. And this is what we are only asking of our persons, our listeners and viewers to do, to think, for us to come up with creative ideas as in how we would like to go forward in terms of diversifying our economy because we continue to go from regime to regime with the same challenges where they continue to speak about oil and gas, and it is a reserve that is running out, and we need natural gas. We need to continue pumping all of these sort of challenges. So we really need to come to a point where we start to say, listen, yes, we have those resources, but let's find out where else we can throw some support, throw some attention in order for the country to raise forex and for us to get our economy moving forward again, especially the middle class. And this is what Comrade Sister Kez has been speaking about. We are not saying that our idea is the end all in all, but I could understand where persons' minds are at. And you know where people's minds are at? It is the system as it is. As Kez was rightfully saying, the argument the brother was putting forward, the commander was putting forward, was predicated upon probably past experiences and what he's seeing or what he used to see in the hospital, where you go in there and you spend hours and hours and hours to see someone. So there's a lack of inefficiency that he is seeing. So he is saying, if it is we can't handle our own hospitals to a standard that would be more palatable, more acceptable, how could we want to pursue medical tourism where we bring in foreigners? Are the foreigners going to come under the same conditions that we are experiencing currently? And that is what we are saying. No, that is not going to be the same scenario that we are proposing. It is going to be a well-oiled machine, and it is going to be geared towards profitability. Understand that. It's going to be geared towards profitability. So, yes, we will need to retrain some persons. I accept that. Yes, we will need to retool some of our professionals, medical professionals. But what we are simply saying is that the potential to do this within short order with the new hospitals that would have recently come on stream, with our university passing out young doctors every year. We could improve the training of nurses. We could improve so many different facets within the local health system to facilitate this new medical tourism drive that, as Comrade Sister Kes said, we are way better off than many of our CARICOM neighbors. As bad as you may think it is, we are still better off, and we believe we have the capacity to do better. But if you look, if it is you're looking on the screen, you will be seeing our new Port of Spain General Hospital that has been recently built. And I said to come and
Look at that. That looks like it in Trinidad. Hey.
We're not even looking at this one. We're not even looking at Port of Spain General. Yeah, we're not even looking at this one. We're looking at the others. We're looking at the Roxborough. We're looking at the Ported. We're looking at the Children's Hospital that the Prime Minister is so funding. We have a brand new hospital in Arima. We have a brand new hospital in Sangre Grande. And all of them
getting quick results.
And not only that, but I want persons to understand that none of them are probably working even up to 30% capacity. So imagine if it is we were all to sit together and get the opportunity to talk to the Honorable Prime Minister or a delegation of the government to present these ideas as in how we can diversify the economy. Because even though I'm listening to the brother in terms of his aqua farming, he's still saying to train and teach young people from the primary school level.
Yeah,
talking about
it's not ready.
I know the brother want to call back. I know the brother want to come back in the discussion. Brother, you could call. This is a program where we welcome everybody views.
Yeah.
Ranison here, what? I don't know if you could. page 18 and 19 of the research that I did. Is
Yes.
there any way you could put it up with the BCG matrix that shows that the medical tourism is a
Yeah, good night,
question mark
Jeff. Good night, Mr. Sanders. Good night,
with
Megan.
high
Yeah,
potential
I'm
yeah.
for
a story.
No,
health.
just so Kezia, we have a call online.
Go
Paint
ahead.
over.
Sorry,
Beautiful.
go
Let me
ahead.
see the color. But when I try to start it couldn't start. That new hospital, with outfitted with inside, how much floors are finished? And what will be the cost to outfit all the floors up to 21st standard? And Mr. Sanders, I say primary school and secondary school. The others who are already involved in agriculture, they'll be. But what I'm saying is we have to try to introduce the difference with agriculture in people's mindset. And that's all I'm saying, because if in China, when children go to school, the first 5-6 years, they teach them how to socialize,
Yes, I'm
how
aware.
to act among
But
each
let me
other,
ask you a question, comrade.
how to be
Let me
courteous,
ask you a
how
question.
to have
Because
manners,
I
how
think
to have discipline,
let me ask
respect.
you a question.
And this
Let
is
me
what
ask
I'm
you a question.
saying.
Second.
Now the building looking beautiful, I agree with you. But how much floors was outfitted? When they opened it, they only had one floor, and if you look at the videos, nothing was completed. How much billions would it take
Listen,
to
the
outfit
same
that
caller,
hospital
there are the
before
other
we could even
hospitals.
initiate to have people coming in internationally for operation? And before you do operations, you do research, you go online and you look at comments, you look at the ratings. What ratings do we have in the international market when it comes to healthcare? And this is the
Okay,
questions
hold
we have
on.
to ask ourselves. I agree,
Co-
if
Oral,
we
co-
could get this healthcare going on, it will be great.
yeah,
Mr.
but
But we have to
Trini,
look at
you
it
co-
could
in a
exert that
holistic
patience and put it
position.
up.
yes, hold on.
Could we complete this hospital with perfect machinery, well-trained staff, technology-wise, they learn, teach them, train them in the next 10 years?
It's not
Yes.
even going to take
Well,
too long.
well, oral,
Hold on, Oral. Let me
or,
go in there
All
because
right,
I did the
I'll
research
wait
from
for
I
your
sent it to
response. Thank you
you.
very much.
okay then. But oral, go ahead. I mean, the caller would have asked something there that I mean,
Yes. And this is a healthy discussion. I don't want the comrade to believe that um we are against what he's saying. What we are simply saying is this, right? In terms of the hospitals and what Renaissance would have shown you is just one of about 5 that we would have identified, right? Yes, it is not fully equipped, it's not fully manned. And as I said before, my focus is not even on Port of Spain General Hospital. I'm looking at the Point Fortin. I'm also looking at the Sangre Grande. I'm looking at the Hoover
Exactly. We're
Church
looking at
Hospital.
what is ready.
And what is more importantly, because I think this is where we having a little differences, where the caller is calling, and I wanted to ask him a question. Because if it is, I think we're talking about 2 separate things. Guys, follow me here. Hear what I think the caller is talking about, eh? Agriculture to feed who? Is the agriculture to feed us as a society, or are we going to do the agriculture to export to earn foreign exchange? And I think
It has
that
to
is
be
where the
that.
difference.
It has to be
Correct.
that. It can't be for us
And that's
because
the
what I
point
can
I'm
tell you
making.
is on a daily basis, statistically, walk the markets, quarters, Charlotte Street, and any one of the market and see how much food throws away on a daily basis. So it can't be for us. It has to be to export.
Kezzy, before I
Right.
think, what page are the thing you want to?
19, which has the BCG matrix. You can probably just search for it on the document and put up that.
I
So
already
that
seen,
is a
I already seen up to 18.
no. So that just hold on then. Just let me just send this to you
Okay.
because I think I went at what I sent it. You sure?
Yes, I haven't seen up to 18.
Right. And while you're
Okay, so
looking
let
at that,
Yeah,
I
go ahead,
want to
Oral.
carry on. Yes, I want to continue with our brother that calling to let them understand that it is a niche market we are going to go after. We are not going to go for every single medical condition. We made that abundantly clear. We are looking at the most lucrative, cost effective, time and efficiency oriented services that would make someone find it extremely easier to come into Trinidad and Tobago and to do that particular surgery, that particular procedure, go and get the procedure done, go over to Tobago and enjoy some leisure as you recuperate, and then you leave the country. And this in itself is going to bring in foreign exchange, which is what we are talking about. Now, I did hear someone last time we spoke talk about peppers, and that was a very lucrative market. But again, the question is, can we produce enough that is going to be exported to bring in foreign exchange in short order? So feeding our population is one issue, but preparing to feed other societies, we need huge volumes in order to bring in the exchange and the foreign exchange that we are talking about, which is a direct input into our treasury. If
yeah,
persons are
Jonathan.
coming
I,
and doing and if they're doing those surgeries in Trinidad and Tobago, same day surgeries, for example, eye examinations, x-rays, all these sort of various things. These are things that could be done within 1 day or 2 days. And as we said, because of the technology, their doctors in their jurisdiction could be liaising with our doctors here long before they even arrive. So it's almost like, as
And
we
that's
call
the
it in
whole
medicine,
AI integration part
continuation.
you're getting into, eh?
Correct. It is continuation of care. So it's absolutely no period that you're really going to be hang up, as the people might say, in terms of you'll have to start over and know how to go and do another surgery, go and do new bloods. All of these things will be a continuation and sharing. Doctors in different jurisdictions will be
right.
speaking with our doctors. So by the time they reach in Trinidad, we have a plan. We have somebody to pick them up from the airport, drop them to the hospital.
Well,
They have a
stick
room to stay in.
stick up in there, Oral. We have the caller back here again because I mean apparently like he interested in the conversation that
One
he.
Yes,
second,
yes.
so let me respond here. What I'm speaking about right now, we have to make Trinidad self-sustaining, right? We have to lower our import bill. And once we lower our import bill, we'll have more
Mhm.
revenue now to invest and going into a big way. We're not going to plant everything to export, you know. We're going to look for a few produce that sells, right? But we have to be self-sufficient first and lower our import bills. We have to look at Matutes and all of these who do manufacturing. And we have to incorporate other people to do manufacturing to have a competitive market in Trinidad so the prices will be lower. Because the more manufacturing companies we have is more
It's not,
imports
Paula,
of the
it's
raw
not that the
material they will
market
take
isn't competitive,
at a
eh?
cheaper cost because there will
It
be
is that
more
the
people
government needs to
buying
start
from the
handling
outside than
them.
just a few selective. Remember, let's say four of us here, we doing
Mhm.
peppers, and four of us order from the same company, and four of us come together and say we're going to order. Normally, Jefferson will order 10,000, you will order 20,000, Miss Kizzy will order 30,000, I might order 10,000. But if all of us come together and order from one company together, we will pay a cheaper cost and we will be able to reduce our price and become self-sustainable. You see, when the market is monopolized by a few, it becomes I can make whatever price I want to make. But if it have a more, because look at Walmart, right? Because I live on the outside, and Walmart have a brand name Great Value, which is much cheaper and it sells the most. That's a Walmart brand than the other high-end brands. And this is all I am saying. We need to be self-sustainable, and then we will be able to lower our import bill so we'll have more money. What is the import bill right now? I think maybe about $4 billion. If we could reduce that by 2 billion alone in imports, and we'll have an extra 2 billion in the economy to spend on local, and then we could manufacture in a big way. So I hope I try to make it. So that's what I am thinking.
Well,
I
see,
hear you loud and
We,
clear.
we, we
That's
need to
a
we
fact.
need to come
That's a
together
fact,
as a
caller.
body. You see, I always see CARICOM supposed to be one body. Are we supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be a unified CARICOM? And we supposed to have ideas among each other and become a marketing capital of this region. The world should be importing from CARICOM, not just one country, from CARICOM. So that's my point of view. Thank you.
thank you, caller. I mean, I really want to go on that because the caller would have made some very interesting point. Look, we food import bill right about now is
Yes,
is is bordering about $8 billion right now.
correct. And before we could
Get that
even start to,
information, not the figure.
well, the figure is astronomical by any stretch of the imagination, especially for a country that is suffering from a shortage of forex. However, what is driving that are the consumers themselves. How are we going to stop, or bring down the food import bill by simply what, through legislation? Is that what the caller is proposing? Because if it is that the importers are bringing what they think the people want,
Um,
right?
I forget to play a voice note there. Or hold on there because I see in Slimy keep saying voice note not being played. Let me play this voice note.
Very good caller, very good. Um,
Oh, slime,
I
we
love
want to
it when
let's hear
trainees
it.
like actually use their brains and come up with great ideas. This is what this program is supposed to be: us coming together and bringing these beautiful ideas together. To expand on what that caller was just talking about, the aqua farming is actually called seaweed farming, where seaweed is farmed and used to create products like plastics, plates, and all those disposable things. And what the last caller was correct about is agriculture is the fastest and easiest way where Trinidad could like generate foreign exchange on a very fast scale. So very good. Keep up the calls, y'all.
Venison research, which would be
And
faster,
another idea that
agriculture
I shared on Facebook a couple days ago is something called sand
or
exports.
agriculture? That's yes.
Trinidad has this problem with flooding and always complaining that you're not getting your rivers dredged. Well, with sand exports, the sand and the stuff that is dredged up from the rivers can actually be sold on the international market. So I actually made a post and tagged Khadija Amin to see if that would be something that she'd be interested in.
Renison,
Uh
you
huh.
was able to pull the page 19 for the
Yes,
J matrix.
yes.
Let me
Apple page.
just say this,
It's on the screen right now.
and I need the viewers to be well aware. This conversation we're having about medical tourism was not done without research and without collaboration of the individuals on this broadcast. We all collaborated and put in ideas and generated ideas to develop the research for it. So we're not speaking ignorant. And this was a research that I did, I think, back in 2016 in a symposium in London regarding sustainable development and new era business opportunities for countries and corporations, right? There were a lot of corporations that went into it, and there are a lot of countries that are looking into it. We are going to try to share the entire document. I have already emailed it to the newspaper Hopefully, they will oblige and publish it so that we can get it out to all viewers, so that you all will have an in-depth idea of the development of it. Because of our current infrastructure, I took my old research and I put it into AI and asked AI, how soon could this be done? And I think AI gave me an average based on our current statistical infrastructure. How long would it be? And it presented, I think, a total of 3 years to pick a couple things that needs to be addressed to position us, but also able to start within our regional market. For facilities in the regional market that does not meet our standards, most of the regional markets have the medical associates and the Sinclair, our hospital, private hospitals that are over there, and they still come here to get this stuff done. So I don't know if that's not reaching your cells regarding to process that it is already being done, but we just need the government to tap into the resource. It's not something we're asking to be done that's not being done. We're asking the government for all the promises you've made, make it happen. Like how one of these companies have a make it happen loan or Republic. This is what we're asking the government. It is already out there. The research has already been done internationally of the viability for countries willing to take advantage. India has, to the point that India is legal to sell an organ. When you sent me that oral, it sent me back to a conversation I had with a lady who took her husband to India last year to have a kidney transplant because it is legal. If countries are taking up the opportunity, countries that did not have it before, and we are still better than our Caribbean counterparts in standing. They come here to use our free facilities. Why can't we make money off of the ones who can actually pay for it?
But not
They
only
come.
that, Kez, but in addition to what you're saying, Kez, what I would like our viewers and callers to understand, and maybe they did not see the document that I shared with you and Comrade Renison, so we'll have to bring that to their attention. What
We
they are
will.
not aware of or should be aware of is that India is rapidly diversifying their country's economy on all levels that are just simply going to make money. So they are actually starting to compete against the Chinese for manufacturing products. They are starting to compete against them because many of the companies are saying, listen, if President Trump is having a problem with their companies being stationed in China, India is proposing themselves as being an acceptable alternative to sending your company in China. So understand the conversation that India, the Indian government and their people are trying to pursue. They are simply saying, listen, we want to be an economic giant in this world. We want to be bigger than America. We want to be bigger than China. And we are prepared to do whatever it takes to diversify our economy so that we will be in a stronger position. Similarly
And it's
to what
still
we are
cheaper to come
saying,
here than to go to India.
imagine that if people are finding it cheaper, and this is what the document would
It
have
is
said,
cheaper.
people are finding it cheaper. And they are even saying that some of our local insurance companies in Trinidad and Tobago, they are recognizing that it is cheaper to fly a citizen, our fellow citizens, out of Trinidad all the way around the world to India to do a procedure which they view as important and cheaper to do than fighting up with the American market where you don't have the foreign exchange, where you have to get a visa entry. Maybe it might only be you alone as the patient, whereas you wouldn't have your family, they may not get visa access. All of those intricate details and challenges come into play if it is you're thinking about going
And
into
visa
America.
thing though, or else
Yes.
not to will cut across you. But what people don't understand, when you have a medical situation and you are going through your recovery process, familiarity is a very key factor in that rehabilitation. So when you
Correct.
have to go all the way to India, yes, we have Indians here and other Caribbean islands have Indians there, but it's not the same. It's a
Correct.
culture shock.
It is.
So they don't even cook the same curry we cook.
Correct. They have
So
their
it's a
own version of
culture
it.
shock, and you have to climatize yourself to their culture whilst trying to transition through your rehabilitation and your whole health status. So are not, and not to mention, our English is very good.
Correct.
When the
Correct.
majority of the Caribbean islands, the majority of the world, English is the number one language worldwide. So and a lot of people think
it good.
we have a
It's
lot
even
to do.
it's even easier, because think about it from this point of view. Any amount of family members can come across to Trinidad on short order to be there with their loved one.
As much
Easy
as we,
accessibility. Yes.
as much as we ripping off people, guess what? They're still cheaper to fly here than to
Correct.
fly to India.
Because think about it. Even if
And
it
they
is you were to go to
already
India,
doing it with the
correct. Because
crime
if it is,
situation and stuff. It has a 300 patient count for the private sector already.
and this is
Ah,
what
yeah.
we want to share with the
So I'm
government, that
not
we could
speaking
tap into it. That we could tap into it. Because chances are, if it is you have to fly your
all
family to
governments,
America,
major governments looking into it.
well, not only that,
That
but even if it is you have
symposium
to
I
fly,
was in had people from all parts of the world,
yeah.
But
Yeah, but
you
what I'm
hear the
saying
shout is
is
India doing it.
and what I am saying for our viewers and listeners is that this was something that was being done in Cuba regularly on a bigger basis,
Yeah.
but they have recently gone through serious challenges, and therefore an opportunity has presented itself for any
So
country, or a country like Trinidad and Tobago, to capitalize on where their shortfalls are. Because even if it
there is
is
no
someone was
country
to
ready that
accompany their
more
relative,
ready than us right now in the region.
but not only that, but even if it is, let's say, for example, God forbid, the victim, or the client, or the patient, however you want to look at it, has to go to India. How many family members could actually accompany that
Might be
individual to
one.
go there in terms of cost? In
Might
terms
be
of
one.
cost, right? And is India's health system superior to Trinidad's health system? Or can we, with a little bit of tweaking, can we not compete against them? And whereas it will be cheaper for an entire family to come to Trinidad and to spend that time with their loved one, taking care of that loved one, ensuring that they pray together, because they could go to
Not to
church,
mention too, oral. Remember, is a stone throw away. So if even they
of
can,
course,
they
correct.
ride it.
They could run back,
They ride
run
it.
back, come back
Exactly.
easily.
Kezia, I know you see the comment and I know you're smiling because you see the comment. The man say if you want people to come to Trinidad offer diabetes cure. Hold on. Somebody's on the line. Good night, caller again. I know you like the discussion. Let me hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I love the discussion. So, Mr. Sanders, Miss Easy, and Mr. Jeffrey, all those countries we competing with, do they make their own medical supplies? And they produce medical supplies?
Some of them, yes.
Cuba, America,
We're not competing with Cuba. Yeah? They're out of the
India.
race right now.
No, I just saying Cuba makes the medical supply. They do vaccines, they do medical, right? So
No,
they having
forget
their
about
own
Cuba right
supply.
now. Cuba is not
All
on
right.
the on, yeah. Forget about Cuba. Give another example. Continue with your
All right.
with your thoughts, but take Cuba out of the equation right now.
All right, no problem. So America, India, um,
But they're
Europe
not
and
in
all those, they
our
make medical
region, though.
supply, right? So
Yes.
they supply they make their own supply, so they buy their own supply from their own country at a cheaper cost, right? So that's why they can perform operations and medical cheaper for international people, right? You just seeing something.
Okay. Okay. Go
So
on.
don't you think we should invest in something like that if we want to take this medical tourism to that level?
Well, I can accept
So
that, my brother. I am not disputing what you're saying. I am accepting that. That is
because
a possibility in the long term.
because if
But
we
remember, our conversation
because
started by the short term. What can we do as a society within the shortest period of time to diversify our economy? Remember, that was the
yeah,
conversation how it started. Eh?
but if we're gonna do
Renison,
medical tourism, right, we're gonna
Yeah.
have to import everything to have facilities to do that operation.
but we already have
And at
some of
what
those facilities, Paula.
and listen, if we want to be part of that market, those medical chain supply who supplies us, they're gonna increase their prices and they're
Well,
gonna
well,
sell
well.
us at a higher price. Because that
No,
is
they
what
wouldn't.
America do to put sanctions on certain countries that want to do the same thing that they are doing. So if we have to
No. I
import
think that
medical
that's
supplies,
sick up in, comrade.
He's
I
mixing
think
up
that is where
his
you're going wrong right there.
his research. Yeah,
No. This is why
so
I'm happy you speak it.
so no,
I'm happy you
before
speak it.
you continue, if we're looking for foreign money, right? So we talk about America, we talk about Europe and all of them, right? We're not regional.
we're not
We
talking
will
about
have
these
people from
places
the
because
region
they're
coming,
not
but
in
that
our
is from a
region.
small.
Paula, understand that we have a region. We are in the
Right,
Caribbean
right.
region, and in the Caribbean region, we can facilitate our Caribbean counterparts. There is no one else right now viable for this role in the Caribbean region. They come
All
here.
right. So let me ask you a question. How many people with money in the regional countries who has money willing to come to Trinidad to do that situation, which they can afford
Comrade,
to go and do it in America or India? Well, no, I'm just saying something. We just having a discussion. So let's say I
yes.
have money, a lot of money, right? And I can afford to go America to do it, and I can afford to go India to do it. I can afford it, right? I'm not scraping the bottom of the barrel. I just saying. Why would I come Trinidad to do it when I could afford to go and do it in other countries? What
Well, I'm happy.
Trinidad
I
track
am
record
happy
You
that
would
you
have
would
be?
have said
money,
that. Eh?
Paula. But what about the man that don't have money and they take a loan to do a surgery? What about that man in the Caribbean island that is not being facilitated? What about
All
that
right, so
person? We don't
that's a
want to
small
live in the
minority.
US. We don't want
That
to
is a
have
small
the disposable
minority.
income.
A,
It's
a
a
poor
what?
person, if a poor person, basically a poor person who has to take a loan to go international to take
All right. Now
a
let me get you
operation
into my
will be the
business
will.
a little bit, Paula. Let me let you get into my business. You see this? And I don't know if you're watching. You see this book? And I could show you a
Yeah.
lot of different things. My business is to mind your business. That's what my business is. I get paid to mind people business. And what I can
No,
tell
but
you, in this year alone, 15 people are brought to Trinidad to utilize the different medical facility from cancer, kidney, cosmetic, veneer,
yeah,
what was the
yeah.
other? I think it was amputation or something. And I could go on. I mean, I'll have to pull my diary and tell you who did where and where
No,
they went. But again, that would be
no,
me
I
telling
understand.
you people business. But my business is
I
to
understand what
mind
you're
people business,
saying,
and I could tell you
but
it happens.
I understand what you're saying, Miss Kizzy, but understand what I'm saying. A poor person who has to take a loan was willing, like if I am from Trinidad and I cannot afford to go India or anywhere to do the operation, I have to do it in Trinidad. Because if I cannot get a loan, now you're talking about a poor person who's going to take a loan to come to Trinidad to do it. When their option, they would do it in their own country.
No,
They
They
don't
would go
have
and do it.
it.
no, they
This is
don't
what
have
you're not
it.
understanding. They do not have it. I have a client, first name and not the last. She is get to come here in June month. Well, we in June month, so sometime in the next coming weeks for surgery here. They do not have it. They literally see them,
All right.
tell them you're going to die. You will die if you don't get this, or we can't do it for you, but you could go anywhere else and do it. In
So how much money we will make from that?
their
We're talking
country,
about
it's higher than
a
coming here.
minority of people who's going to take a loan to come to do it. Because there are some people
No,
who will
no.
not
Okay,
be
let me
able
go
to
to the
get that loan.
statistics.
Yes. So that's what I want to do. So all I am saying is that a person
No?
who can
All right, let me
afford
leave it.
to do the surgery, the person who could afford to do the surgery, why would they come to Trinidad? This is the question I am asking. When they can
But they
afford to go and do it in
already
America
do.
or
They
We,
already do,
all right.
caller.
Kes, hold on.
You
Let
need
me
to
answer.
understand that they do. Go
Let
ahead,
me
man.
answer. Let me answer.
Yeah.
Comrade, you're justified
Mm-hmm.
in questioning these things. Don't get me wrong, You're justified in questioning. And we are going to try to break it down to you as simple as possible. And it comes down to accessibility in terms of time, because anything is dealing with a medical issue, you're looking at time. Time is the critical factor. One, you're looking at accessibility. How easy is it for you to reach to this location to get the help? Anywhere you go in in any country, when you're dealing
It
with
have no
medical
direct flights to
issues,
India. Just letting you know.
not only that too, but how fast will the average person be able to access getting an appointment, an emergency appointment with the American embassy in their respective country? And even if they succeed in doing that, how much more money do they have to spend of their money to purchase US to go to America? And then remember, you have to live there, you have to stay there. How many of the family members will be able to accompany the individual, the patient, to go to America? What we are saying, comrade, and I want to inculcate even the idea of your farming, because what we said, and maybe you may have missed that from a previous program, what we are trying to do, comrade, is to create an all-inclusive medical service, what that we call and have coined medical tourism. So that once somebody and their family is coming into Trinidad, their doctors will be able to speak to our doctors directly in real time, the same way how you and I and Kez and Jeffries, we are speaking to each other. They can speak with each other within real time. They could forward information. So there's a continuation of care
And the
from point
time
A to
difference.
point B. Once the relatives are here, they need a restaurant, they need something to eat. This is where our local farmers will be coming into play in this idea that we have,
Our
because
entire
most of the
local
food
economy.
is going to
Farmers.
grow. Correct. Our local economy, we're going to have farmers who would have to supply these hospitals with local produce. And we are talking about poultry, we're talking about vegetables, we're talking about the whole dynamics. We're talking about taxi service. We are talking about bread and breakfast, if it is you're not providing it in the restaurant, in the hospitals. But ultimately, comrade, the reason why we are saying people would be finding it easier to come to Trinidad is because their countries do not have the volume of medical facilities that Trinidad has that are underutilized as we speak. So what we are simply saying, comrade,
That will
and
also enhance our local care
for our citizens,
because we're
while
going to have to let it
simultaneously,
be level.
yes, while simultaneously providing this avenue, because we already have the doctors in place in terms, we have the anesthesians, all the anesthesists, all of these persons, sorry, who already have been trained, the radiologists, all of these persons. And as Kez is saying, as we
And we
speak,
have a whole heap of them out of the Venezuelans that here too. Many
correct,
of them are medical practitioners
correct,
of
but they are
different.
just doing it underground
Yes,
because they
they're
do
on
not
the
have
low.
a license to do it. They do not have a
Correct.
proper facility that is managed by the state to make sure that it is being done in a correct way. So
Oh,
there are companies, private
oh,
sector companies, that are taking advantage of this situation, and they are already providing the very said service, but it is going into private persons' pockets as opposed to the state collecting these monies, which is what
well,
we are simply saying.
well, Mr. Saunders
All
and
right.
Kezia, I don't want to team up on the call. I like how we teaming up in it. But call, I
No,
never hear
no,
what
no,
you're
no.
saying because we want to come to the end
Right.
of the
So,
broadcast.
yeah, yeah. I know you want to come to the end, but what it is I'm trying to say is, right? What? All right. Let's say an operation in America costs 30,000 US, right? Let's say in a ballpark figure, right? How would we be able to compete with that to make it more affordable and still make a profit? To pay
Easy.
everyone and to still make a profit? This is the question that I was asking. Because I understand all the studies that Kizzy do and stuff, but what I'm saying, if an operation costs 30,000 in America with all the facilities, could we do that same operation for 25,000 and still make a profit
Yes, we
to have
can. Yes, we can.
a redeemable income after paying all
Yes, we
medicals,
can. And the
all
research was
staffs,
already
and all
done.
accommodation? All right, so that
Yes, we
was
can.
the
To
question that
answer
I
your
was basing on.
question,
All
the
right,
research was done. If it's $30,000 in the US and stuff around that, because let's say we will hold you in the hospital for a certain amount of days, and then we'll do outpatient care. So we'll put you in one of the B&Bs or hotel guest houses for the rest of it while you're being monitored before transporting you back to your country. And the research has already indicated that it is viable and profitable with a figure and how much it would amount in the billions per year if we venture into it
all right.
from the government
So
perspective,
we
But
could
not the private
Kez,
being done.
what I
so if
want
it
to add to that is to the caller. What I want the caller to understand is that we are not at proposing, because maybe that is what has stuck in your mind, that we are proposing to go head on head with America or India for all surgeries. That is not what we're proposing. It's not for all
no,
surgeries.
I don't mean also Mr. Sanders. I'm talking about cost
Yes,
factor.
right.
If it costs
Yes,
30,000, if it will
yes.
cost 5,000 less, so it will cost 25,000 in Trinidad, and could that we
And that
still
is
make
the
a
aim.
profit out of that?
That is the aim, because what you're saying, comrade, is the crux of the matter. That is the aim. We have to, not we are going, we have to put together a product that will be more competitive than going anywhere. When the person think about the hassle, they think about the language barrier, they think about the accessibility, how close, how long, how much time does it take to fly from Barbados to Trinidad? 30 minutes. How long does it
So
take from
Before he
Jamaica
goes,
to
all
I
right, let
under,
me
Trinidad?
just
Two
throw you
hours.
all
before
right.
you finish.
So
Before
I know
you
the
finish,
time
I don't
going.
want
So
him to
let me
go.
just say
Caller,
let me just say
caller,
this. Let me
just
just
one
say this,
second.
right? Sure.
So I researched it,
Yeah.
and a heart surgery in Trinidad and Tobago will cost 25,000 US dollars. That same heart surgery in the US, if you want to compare if a US citizen should leave there to come here, that same heart surgery is $151,271 plus whatever else they want to add on to that. That's the raw figure. So that maths already maths in. And if we push a good 100,000 of this figure, we ain't touch on any other surgeries because right now we are well viable for cardiac surgery. That is why I Googled heart surgery.
So
Cardiac surgery, we are already ranked and positioned for that.
So that is 100,000 covered by
So we have,
without insurance or with insurance.
well, it doesn't really matter.
So
We don't care if
so
insurance
so
cover it or if you cover it.
so we're going to make our heart surgeon work for a specific price, right? He cannot say what he's going to work for
No, this is
because you know the
what
heart
our
surgeon
market
charges a
value
price.
in that type of surgery is. This is the
All
current
right,
market
so we
value
go we're
in the
gonna
private sector that
we're gonna
all
give
surgeons get.
so we're gonna give a standard pay for a heart surgeon. He cannot say his price no matter his qualification, right? So I understand what you're trying to say. So we're gonna have a standardized
This
price no
is not
matter
a
how qualified the
private,
heart surgeon is. He cannot say his price.
even in the private sector
So
in Trinidad and Tobago, surgeons don't compete like that. That is for the US and stuff. We don't have that
so
competition here
in
where
Trinidad,
you're looking at
in Trinidad,
ranking.
how much a doctor charge in Trinidad for surgery in the
In their
public sector?
private facility,
No, in the public
$25,000.
and in the
In
public.
the public, they get a salary, the government pay them. Every doctor and every surgeon has to
But
respond to
I
every
think every
public
doctor that in the
facility.
private sector who do a surgery get extra money. So
It
I'm not too
will
sure. You have to
still
check
be,
that.
they will be given some type of incentive for it, caller.
All right.
There will be. It's not going to be that you only getting $2 for doing it, but because every medical practitioner, every doctor, every surgeon are required to respond to the public facilities over their private practices any given day, this it would be
All
a
right.
mandate because it will be for the
All
greater
right,
good of
Miss Kizzy.
country.
I
This
know
doesn't take away from their business,
Jeffrey like you want to go, so let me go.
No. Well, I hear there. We reaching up to the. We done pass it about
Yeah.
23 minutes already. Thank you, caller.
All
Next
right.
time. Next time.
All right.
Volatile
Yeah.
Yeah.
conversation, and he make me look for some info that I didn't have here. So I'm going to add this to the research because the average heart surgery currently in Trinidad and Tobago, which we are posed and viable for based on the research
Oh,
done, indicates that cardiac surgery is one of the areas we can look into.
right.
So
So we have
because of that,
a voice note again. Let me play the voice note.
You're still wasting time on this medical tourism. Medical tourism in Trinidad, it will take us about 10 to 20 years to get established, to build the
why
infrastructure,
these people
to
don't
get the
do the
reputation,
research
to
and
train the
stop pulling
doctors, to
things
train the
out of a
staff,
hat?
to get the high-end
This
equipment,
rabbit is
because you're not
going
going
to
to
grab out of a
come to
hat and
Trinidad
makes
and you're
no
taking
sense for the
x-rays with
equipment in
freaking
country.
plastic, the plastic film. Everything is going to have to be digital. All of that is going to be expensive. It's a good idea, but let's put that on the back burner for like a 10 to 20 year plan. Immediately, like let's do stuff,
Slide me, right?
focus on stuff that could actually help the country. The
Yeah,
country,
that's
artificial
slimy.
intelligence, agriculture.
Okay, so
Plant something
slide
in the
me.
ground today.
I know
6 months
it's a
from
voice
now,
note,
you
but
you
here's
you
what I
you're reaping the
want you
profits
to
from
do.
that. So,
I
lower.
want you to do your research and present figures and compare what we are proposing with medical tourism over what you are proposing and other callers are proposing because I did the research. Well, our team did the research, and the research has posed a greater turnaround in income faster than any agriculture or any aquaculture that we'll want to get into. Not saying that we cannot, because any business module has a BCG matrix. That matrix, which was up on the screen not too long to show where, as a question mark, medical tourism in Trinidad and Tobago against many of the other industry opportunities is viable and more viable because of how we are positioned regionally.
I understand
So
where.
take a look at the matrix that is right there in the inset that tells you the different industries that we have in Trinidad and Tobago and the viability of medical um, tourism against
Tourism.
everything else that we have going on, right? And then you will see how it even encompasses AI, and communication technology, and will take us to the next level because that's the only thing that we don't have in place right now. That AI connectivity, and it will be a poise because we would be even paid for the use of that service by other Caribbean islands to keep up to date with what is going on with their patients. Because remember, they are only our patients for a short term for the surgery. They go back to their homes and their regular doctors, and we would now need to share information. So I need you to take a
For
look at the
follow-up
BC,
follow-up treatment. For follow-up treatment.
yeah, for
And
follow up
outpatient
treatment,
clinic.
right? So when you review the BCG matrix and see the positioning that it has, it's a question mark with high potential. And let me just read it. So medical tourism, low relative market share, high market growth. Meaning that the cost of it, which is the fact that we're $25,000 for a heart surgery, that is 150 something thousand US dollars in the US, with a high market growth means that we have the potential to capture the market based on regional statistics. Currently a nascent industry in Trinidad and Tobago, but the global medical tourism market is experiencing significant growth. Trinidad and Tobago has the potential but needs substantial um, st- strategic investments, international accreditation, and targeted marketing to capture a significant share. So the share we already have in the private sector, we need to do some things for the public sector. And because it is a need, it will not be a hard sell. It wouldn't. People have needs in these other islands that you all are not even aware of. The potential for transformation, if successful, is it'll be dramatically diversify the economy, generate significant new foreign exchange earnings, create a range of high skills and support jobs, attract new FDIs and in healthcare infrastructure, and enhance Trinidad and Tobago international reputation, represents high represents a high risk, a high risk, but also high reward. I'm reading based on research. So that wasn't me just talking randomly. This was research I did years ago, and we developed it recently to present the viability of it. Please take a look at the BCG matrix. If the
Well,
newspapers decide to publish the entire report, the public will be able to view it and digest it, understand it, and really get to absorb the concept of it
and
because
and
we are already doing it.
and Kezia, what you need to do is post it up on your Facebook page. You have a Facebook, not so.
Yeah, I have to do some revision of that page in order to make
We are
it,
well. I
I
go
will do
post.
that this weekend.
Well, what I will do, I'll post it on the Workers' Rights 816 Facebook page,
You could. I have no
you know
problem with that.
people can
Uh,
access it.
Jeffrey, well, what I will do too, I will actually share it with another media person who has written recently and gotten significant traction. And I will forward Kez's phone number for her for follow-up interviews on it. So what we will do, we'll put it out there because clearly our viewers, and we can't fault them because they haven't seen the document, they
No,
haven't seen the research. So they as Kez saying, they are speaking in their minds as in what they see in front of them. They're not seeing down the road in terms of a vision. You know, the book say people perish for lack of a vision. They're not seeing our vision. And maybe with the information, once it is presented via the press, then we could properly critique it and say, so Slimy, although you're in the US, once you see the document and you read it and you understand it, you internalize it, bring your questions and we'll be able to speak from a
That
position
is
of
what we
Absolutely.
need.
knowledge.
Correct. So at this point, they will understand what is presented. Now, this research was found, as I said, part from years ago, but most everything was me putting it into AI and asking AI how plausible is it. And AI outrightly said yes, and this was the additional information that was generated that was formulated to structure the research on it. It did not give a 10-year time span because it reflected on the what we already have going on. It literally considered our existing viability, our existing infrastructure, and said yes, we can.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and probably at some point in time, seeing that this is such a heated topic, that sometime in the near future, we could take it a step further again. Now, I mean, as I said, we coming up to the borders of the time, and I don't understand the Kezia. I mean, audience, Kezia did not want it to come back on tonight. I let you know one time. She didn't want it to
That
come
is
on
not
tonight.
true
You understand?
because it is a fully open conversation.
I telling you tonight, all that time she didn't want to come back on. I was to force the issue. Wait, the internet. Hello. Well, I ain't seen Kezia again. Oral.
She came back.
Right, she came back. Right. So Kezia, seeing that we come to the, I mean, we done went over a little more extra. Hey, what going on? She internet bad,
Oh, gosh. Yeah,
I
it's a
was,
bit challenging tonight. It's a bit challenging tonight.
I wanted to ask her for a closing comment on this whole issue here tonight. Or always your closing comment. Seeing that we
Well,
waited on Kezia.
right. Well, what I would like to say to our viewers and listeners is that no idea is a bad idea. And I am extremely pleased to know that persons are indeed challenging themselves and coming up with their own versions of what they think the country can do in terms of what direction they think the Honorable Prime Minister and the government can pursue. However, prior to us coming up with this idea, there was significant research and a lot of information that Kes would have put together. And I know both of us would have aided her in terms of the final product. And therefore, we are not just speaking for old talk's sake. In other words, this is not a forum line. This is more research in terms of where the country can go and how viable it is and within a short period of time because persons need to be paid. There are certain promises that were made, as Kezia rightfully indicated, and we would like to see those promises materialize. So I want the callers to understand that this is something that we would have done significant research on. We believe it will be viable, and we implore them to read the document and then critique it. Don't just critique it for critiquing its sake. Read the document once it becomes available on the workers platform. Read the document and we will take it from there. Thank you all very much for this opportunity once again to speak to you all.
Well, I mean, since it's Kezia, I'm sure. Let us sneak in minds and I will let Kezia take. Kezia is just a thing that I would have written up today now. I mean, at the end of the day, Trinidad, Trinbago social and economic future depends on us, the people. We can fix it once we face it. So whether it's poverty, corruption, inequality, or failed leadership, real change begins with real talk. A matter of fact, let me. I don't know what's going on there. Getting some serious feedback.
I'm
Renaissance,
not sure.
we couldn't hear you. Your closing statement became very inaudible. I don't know what's happening, but you wanna just repeat it for the benefit of others?
I am getting a robotic echo. That's what I'm getting from you all.
I likewise. I don't know what causing it. Are you hearing me? Hello.
Yes, I'm hearing you
I'm
loud and
hearing
clear.
you. I'm hearing you. It's just robotic, but you're being heard.
Coming close to the program, the sabotage it, man. But anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
never leave it as that. But thanks, for the viewers, the callers, and everybody that is partaking on the show. The show from before and now here tonight, thanks for participating. A matter of fact, I mean, your presence is always welcome. So again, that just my 2 cents on my perspective.
Well, I am highly appreciative of the two of you, Renaissance and Oral. You all joining in to make the vision of the change we want to see in Trinidad and Tobago possible. Now, I have not seen this night or any other night as a presentation of our viewership not seeing our vision. What I've seen it in is that they are challenging us to do more, even with their ideas to help propel it forward, that it can be heard by the government. Because clearly they themselves are saying that there is more the government can do. I It's always a pleasure, an absolute pleasure, just to share time and space with you all in order to share the information that we have and try to get the vision of our country to a different level altogether. So, thank you to the viewers. Thanks to you all. Thanks to Winston and Aura. And you can tune in for us where we're trying to give you all some additional days because there are a lot of topics. There were topics that were raised for security. There were topics that were raised on education. Excuse me, and all of them are topics that we have at hand that we would be dealing with. Last week we had some Ministry of Education scenarios.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you
It,
see
it,
what
it,
you see what going on. I wonder if
yes, yes.
I wonder if it's Moduru were trying that, boy. Since you on this topic, since on that topic, Moduru and them did send up it here, did send a threat, and Trinidad and Tobago here, we like to joke around a little bit. And this was one out of the pictures that they would have sent up. And watch my I laugh my belly full as to what I would have seen in that picture. Let me show you the picture. Hey, Kizzy, come back, girl.
Yeah.
I
I
was
am changing from B Mobile and I'm going to highlight them. Their service sucks. Yeah. And I'm getting fed up only around too long to be doing this nonsense. Whether you want to call yourself Amplia, a rose by any other name is still a rose. You have plenty thorns. Fix it. Get your act together. Right? Because you're embarrassing me on this broadcast here as if I'm paying my bill.
I noticed that. I noticed that.
watch out. I was now going on show oral appetite
Yeah,
to make you laugh.
straight up, straight up, straight up.
What you picture? Yeah, I said
Yeah.
just here and they with Moduru and take the show in the Coast Guard in a little boat, a little pirogue.
Listen,
And-
these people independence parade, the kind of ammunition they're moving with,
Yeah,
you see
well,
them tankers and stuff.
well,
The prime minister need to get her act together. I have to tell I mentioned this some time ago, but I have to tell the prime minister this. You do not speak for everybody in Trinidad when you're speaking things that can get us in problems. Eh? Remember, we have a lot of Venezuelans here. choose your words wisely, because offending these people, they're too close to us. And as soon you were supposed to get the video or the footage as to how close they are. They literally a hawk and spit away.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I am too happy that you rattling chains that we can. That's a check that our backside can cash. When we have feathers and pom poms for our independence, they're moving with heavy artillery. We can't. We can't. And who coming to we aid? Who?
Trump.
Right now, the US need help. We can't even say we calling them.
Yeah,
So
I was
that statement was reckless.
and
And I don't know if he has a political advisor, but that political advisor, if that is what they advise, they need to just back and get their act together. It was very reckless, and the people are very disturbed by it. I speak Spanish, so when I walk in around Venezuelans and stuff, I could understand what they say. I just pretend that I don't until I hear something that might be off and I open my mouth. But what happened to the one or two of us that don't? I'm sure the Prime Minister don't speak Spanish. So those reckless statements cannot be made. We don't need enemies, right?
Hey, we have one more call for the night. One more call. I just paying it up. I had to answer this call. Good night, caller.
Yes, good night. I'm not reaching and I hear all you talking.
Yes, we talking.
Oh gosh. Listen now. Let me lower my volume. You hearing me clearly?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we are here, caller. We are here.
Oh, because like I hear the lady still talking. I'm lowering my volume. What I'm saying is, they send out a little warning to her, telling her in simple words to calm herself. Because you see,
Mr. Rima, listen to me in the phone. I mean, you go ahead. We hear here.
okay. So they send out a little warning to us, right? Stating that, we need to handle this thing with diplomacy. What the Prime Minister needs to do is to calm herself. You see, too, people must understand that statement that Diosdado made, probably he wanted to come in the country to investigate alongside our officers. These things were done in the past when prisoners or some drug lord run away to Venezuela. We would ask to go into their country, but you can't just go and move about the people place fight. You have to work with their law officers there. So all that could be done because they signed bilateral agreements with us where they could come in our waters. We could go in their waters, especially when it has some tragedy with fishermen lost or some boat turnover. They come and assist. It have a cooperation. So this big excitement where she feel they will come in. If they come in, so is an invasion. And then we will have to fight with the little two-gun we have. But they're not going to invade us. They want to come in to investigate because what they're saying is this paramilitary Colombian gang that live here. So if you hearing about paramilitary Colombian gang, which means they're talking about the FARC and the ELN, which is some gangs they never even hear about. People don't hear about that. Everything is Trinidad. But the FARC and the ELN is very dangerous gangs, and they're dealing with drugs and guns and ammunition trafficking. You
That's
should
right.
research it. If you research it, you will see for yourself that is a very, very dangerous gang. And if they want to come in to investigate, right? Remember, they talk in Spanish and they could spy better than us. And all these things they had discussed with her when she was in power. They talk about having cooperation with sharing intelligence. And the same thing with the past government, right? Especially in the part with the borders in the maritime borders, with the sharing of intelligence and surveying the two waters. So I think she get a little too excited. She always reading thing where people give her to read, and she read that, and that is that. So she had to think and retract that statement, something because her name all over Latin America and they're making fun of her all over. And CARICOM not saying a word, and that is something else. Silence is a dangerous thing. Have a good night.
Good night, caller.
Thank you, caller.
This is what it's a reckless statement. We cannot afford to create enemies because we do not have the financial positioning to even buy a friend. So you need to not make reckless statements that's going to put your citizens in jeopardy. We have vessels on the water. If a vessel shuts down on the water and happens to drift, these people are closer than Tobago. Look at how much hours it takes the ferry to get from Port of Spain to Tobago. If we decide to take it from Toco, it's still going to be a longer journey than the journey from Caracas to Venezuela. What are you doing? When there are vessels on the water, people's lives will be in the balance.
Look again at this statement that somebody would have placed here. This statement here would have been going around social media, and I find I should pay it up. I mean, we the people, yeah. We the people support our prime minister. She is right to defend this nation against Maduro's threat. Well, right, our next caller would have creatively put underneath it here. Yeah, send this map to Maduro so he knows exactly where to attack. Yellow is the code. Yellow is the code. Well, watch out. I fall in the yellow code and don't strike down library for me, please. Don't strike here. You know what I'm saying?
I could easily go back in the red zone.
But I will tell you guys something. I have a slightly different take on this entire scenario. And I look at it from a different perspective that every country has the right to maintain their sovereignty. And in spite of that right, as Kes said, we should always try to foster good neighborly relations with our neighbors, especially when our neighbors are actually closer to us than even Tobago. So Trinidad, it takes longer to go to Tobago than it is to go to Venezuela. I hope people understand that. It'll take a longer time for you to go to Tobago than it is to go to Venezuela. So I see it from the point of view
our ferries like to shut down on the water.
Yeah, but you know, but it's interesting that those colors that map went up there, because if it is you really look at the colors are the Venezuela. That is the Venezuela national colors: yellow, blue, and red. So I don't know what sign that is, but nonetheless, I believe that
my enemy is my friend, and that's what she needs to understand.
Yeah, but
well, it could be. Remember, I know for a fact that in about a year or two ago, under former Ambassador Candice Bond, they would have signed a treaty with Trinidad and Tobago. I think Mr.
Correct.
Fitzgerald Hines was the
Mm-hmm.
Minister of National Security at the time,
National security at the time. Correct.
and they did sign an agreement that the US would be allowed to use Trinidad and Tobago against any foreign threat or any untoward situation in this hemisphere and in this part of the Caribbean. So the question is, how do we go forward? We know what has happened, but the question is, how do we go forward? Are we going to go forward with each person holding their sides, or are we going to let good sense prevail and allow diplomatic channels to do their jobs and really walk us back? I personally do not think it is as bad as Trinidadians are making a joke out of it. And, you know,
No,
I
no,
really
no,
don't
no, no,
think
no,
it is
no.
that bad.
The political speaker for Venezuela
Yes.
spoke, and normally they try to do their translation. They said it, and let me tell you something. I studied Spanish in the Venezuelan Institute. You hear me?
Um,
So I understand their culture. Let the caller hold a second. Let the caller hold, because I want to finish this. I understand Spanish is a language, among others, where the way you say something, the way you position your body language tells a different story. When a Latino decides that they are not speaking to you in your language, it means they are telling you you was out of order and it gloves are off. That is what went on today. That broadcast that indicated that they said that they were displeased in their language in Spanish, said that they gloves are off. If and anybody that knows a Spaniard, a Venezuelan, ask them. Because one thing they teach you, first thing first, as you enter the Venezuelan Institute, is body language. Don't listen to the words, listen to the body language.
Let's hear the caller.
Yeah. Good night again, Mr. Jeff. Good night, Tizian. Good night,
Good
Mr.
night.
Sanders.
Good
So,
night.
what you're saying is Colombians and Trinidadians who come from try to enter in Venezuela. How
Yes,
far is
that was
Colombia
the
from
allegation.
Venezuela?
That was the allegation. Yes,
How,
that was the
how,
allegation.
how yeah, how far is Colombia
And
from
here they tell
Venezuela?
you.
And do you think
It's
Colombia
not far.
needs Trinidad? Do you need? Do you think Colombia needs Trinidad to enter in Venezuela? You see
No.
Colombia,
The
Arsenal, and the
enemy of my
military.
enemy is my friend. That is why I said
No,
that
but
statement just now.
do you see Colombia artillery and army? It's a big
Yes.
army, and they are
You
accustomed
see
knowing wage
ours?
war. They fight. No. Understand what I'm saying? So, do you think the threats that Maduro made was true? Why would people from Colombia leave Colombia, come Trinidad to go to enter Venezuela? Why? What Trinidad has to do? Do you see any merit? And I know what's the funny thing about it? When Mr. Young was going countless time in Venezuela, the news, the media wasn't getting no reports. Now with this situation, how come the media getting all these reports? You
I
don't
don't
Well,
see
care
well,
something
about
is not
none of
adding
that.
up.
I care about their
You
artillery
you
is
you you
way
you,
advanced
you
than
don't see
us.
something not
And
adding up.
for them to reach
What it
Colombia for
is?
whatever is the
No, the
fuel
question is
that we
how come
out
we
for
getting
to
all
buy.
these press conference from Venezuela and we wasn't getting nothing when Stuart Young was going across there doing business? So you don't see something is not right. What this Maduro is trying to do? Colombia don't need Trinidad to enter Venezuela, and why he don't go and attack Colombia? Why instead and why he did not call if he's so diplomatic? Why he did not call the authorities in Trinidad and say, listen, we gathered intelligence and we noticed that Trinidad involved with Colombia. But what forces would Trinidad have to join with Colombia to invade anything in Venezuela? I don't see the sense in it. I believe is a smoke and mirrors. Something is not adding up, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Why it is Maduro press on Trinidad right now as PNM lose power? That is my point of view. Look on this then.
Now that have a twofold situation regarding Guyana and Trinidad and Venezuela and Trinidad. But at the end of the day, we don't even need that question answer, because the bottom line is we cannot have the leader of our country, well, that's the president, but the second prime minister making reckless statements, because what I can assure you all, I learned this out of the Venezuelan Institute. We had Venezuelan teachers. They tell you to listen for one out of two things, well, a couple things. But when they speak in their language and do not oblige you in theirs, because they speak perfect English, they speak perfect English. So the fact that they refuse to translate in English, meaning speak in English, not the subtitle. They refuse to speak in English.
I understand what you're saying.
Gloves off stance. Any Venezuelan, any Latino, even France, German, all of these languages are body engaged. And the fact that they were highly annoyed, they felt disrespected, and they chose not to speak. I am sure we've had press conferences from these people, and it was in English. They spoke English to the best of their ability. The fact that they spoke in Spanish said that they are gloves off. You have offended them, and gloves off. I don't care what artillery Colombia have. I do not care what artillery Venezuela have. What I care is that we cannot deal with it. So
no, but what I'm saying is, what I'm saying,
that is big people.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, although I'm not disputing what your analysis is of the situation. But one thing I have learned over the years is that there are always diplomatic channels open behind the scenes. Although you see two people quarreling, two leaders quarreling and fighting, cussing one another, their soldiers or diplomatic entourages, they continue to talk. And what we need to do is to scale back. Both sides need to scale back. And I do not know, as the caller rightfully said, how come all of a sudden this is what is coming out? We never heard of anything of this sort. Does this have any is this a fallout from the fallout of the deal that we were having with Venezuela and Trinidad? You don't know. So this could be very much more in the water than what is the pistol. That's basically what
Yes.
And maybe we need a third party, which is also part of the diplomatic channels, to really come in before it is too late, to try to bring some sense, or bring back some form of normalcy into the relationship between us and our neighbors.
Good evening, caller. What is your contribution here tonight?
Hello, I want to explain something to the caller. Where they hear in paramilitary, they feel is the Colombian military, the Colombian army. Let me tell you something about gang on the outside of Trinidad. It don't have them kind of petty gang like what we have here. These people are terrorists. Is a gang. They call it the FARC. They wear camouflage. They have boots. They have all military gear. But it's a dangerous terrorist gang. That is what Maduro means. Right? And all you don't know anything about it. Then it have the ELN. ALANA. That is how you say it in Spanish. And the FARC is the Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionaria de Colombia.
Yeah.
That is the FARC.
Yes.
And they just have a gun on the hand. Right. Research it, caller.
And they're fighting for years.
That
they're
is what
yes.
Yes. Right now, nothing can pass to get in Venezuela from Colombia. The border lock. And when he's ready, he just close the border. he garden it on the Simon Boulevard Bridge. No, I ain't supposed to say nothing. You know. I just want certain thing to happen inside of here because I get enough blows giving information to these foolish UNC people. You're telling them something, and everything is Kamna, UNC, and Miss Arima always feels she knew. I just want things to happen, right?
Don't say
But
that, Comrade sister. Nah, we don't want
no,
things to
I
happen.
vex,
No.
I vex. No, watch me. See what happening now? I know
Yeah.
this going on happen long time because it have certain signs I could see, and I
Yes.
know what is going on, and I staying quiet. But to defend certain things here tonight, I making that caller understand that never mind you hear the word military is not the Colombian army trying to attack Maduro from Trinidad. They had to make the wrongs with anything, all kind of thing, because the Colombian border is heavily guarded. It had lots of fighting there, right, in the borderline in January this year. Several people got killed, destabilized, and we don't know nothing going on here because it's a war on drugs, right? So
Yeah.
these people
Yes.
probably come here, settle flat time, and maybe the Trinidadian, I just guess in this part with the Trini, maybe he's a boatman who they pay a great amount of money to transport them over there. We have to look
Right.
at too, Maduro have a bounty on his head for about 25 million right now, and
US,
people
yes.
want that money. Right, and everybody trying to get him. Everybody trying to get him right now because they put on more onto the 15. Yes, it's 25 million now. It was 15 before. And the same minister who say he want to come in here to investigate the gang and them, which is very dangerous. They come like the Hutsi. I'm sure if I pronounce it right, or the
Yeah,
Hezbollah,
would
the
see.
terrible,
Yeah. Yes.
right? It's dangerous to talk right now. And oh gosh, all they try and understand now, UNC, understand. It's not Kamla right through.
And
It's Trinidad.
and Arima, just to put you on notice. You see, this is the thing I just can't understand. From the minute you come with a comment as to what Kizia is saying to make a little piece. Oh, Kamala have a right to come on, man. Watch me. When I hear that message, I get sickened. I feel sickened.
Man, here now, man. You should see and hear, but they can't talk Spanish. The lady there should research and go into the Latin American news and hear how they're talking about the statement
But
this
I
lady
told
made.
you, I was
They don't
hearing
see it as war, right?
This is what I am
They
saying, and that
saying
is
you
why I
can't shoot
explained
at vessels,
their
so
dispositions.
You see, one of the
and
things we
little
need
do
to
they
also
know
take
that
into consideration, I'm sorry, ma'am, one of the things we need to also take into consideration is that we have a lot of our locals out on platforms between Trinidad and Venezuela, far out at sea, and how fast could we go to their rescue
ah
should an untoward situation really occur?
That's why I said
You
it.
understand? So this is why I am saying
You walking on
I am
a
not.
thing. Boy.
No, the point I am making, comrades, is that I am not happy about the situation, but I really do not want it to get further out of hand. And therefore, my position is we have the United Nations, we have other persons who can come as, you know, to speak to both
yes.
sides for us to take down the temperature a bit. Let's talk, let's sit down and talk this thing out, because I liked what the caller spoke about in terms of the persons empathizing and understanding with Mr. Maduro, President Maduro, how he views his life in terms of knowing that people really will want to kill him to get that bounty. And therefore
Yes.
he may have misinterpreted, because look at it from this point of view. If one individual who is a Trinidadian, just like what Mr. Rima said, he might have been the boatman, and they were captured.
No, but hold
No,
on, because there is some truth in that statement she made, and I wanted us to tap into it. You see that statement she made that is probably somebody that was paid to take them over. Why
yes.
would the PM say
Yes.
any trouble to
And
get
listen, they
yourself
say the fella
into,
is a
you're on your
deportee,
own? Okay.
Well,
right? They
this is
say
what
the
I'm
fella is
saying.
a
No.
deportee.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
So,
We need definitely this is a diplomat spot, for want of a better description, right? This is a
That
diplomat
is
spot.
beyond
Right
diplomat
now,
spot
it's
right
just
now.
people, it's just a little tussle between two neighbors right now, as serious as it is. But no lashing past it. No, so let us
Listen,
try our best to pull it back and let good sense prevail. And it isn't about
well, the
anybody
connection
covering.
real bad now. We're not hearing the person clearly anymore. So,
Oh, sorry.
I'll listen off here.
All right, Miss Arima. Right.
Okay.
yeah, but
I just, yes.
Oral, I understand what you're saying, but I'm explaining to you. You see this diplomatic approach that you're talking about? When remember, these people are vicious,
Yes.
They're not like us. They are vicious. And I'm telling you, when I studied at the Venezuelan Institute, it was 4 years of Spanish, being submerged into their culture, their behavior, everything about them. We learned. When they do not oblige you to speak in your language because they can't speak English, all diplomats, all ministry workers, almost all of Venezuela, when they go to school, you see how we learn English? They learn English. When they start school, they learn English. They speak English fairly well. Any of them that don't speak English is because their family they didn't have to send them to school. Though education was free, the distance to get to and from. We have that situation in Trinidad, so we can kind of understand. So the fact that they decided not to speak English was a message, and that message is only understood by the individual that understands what it means. And I am telling you, that is a gloves off situation.
I am hearing you loud and clear, comrade sister. But all I am saying,
Or else something going on with your volume there.
oh, sorry. I don't know what's happening. Are you all hearing me better now?
Oh, try again.
Are you all hearing me better now?
A little better. Go ahead.
A little better, yeah.
Right. I'm hearing you all loud and clear, and I hear what comrade sister Kez is saying. But I try to be a little bit more optimistic, because to leave a situation that she is describing as is will not benefit neither Venezuela nor will it benefit Trinidad. And unlike the caller that called before, I do not want something to happen. I do not, honestly, because I know coming out of COVID, our economy hasn't even put itself back up as yet. You understand? We just came out of an election where certain promises were made. We can't even deliver on some of those promises in the current economic situation that Trinidad and Tobago is facing. So, whether persons believe they're right, whether they support Kamala, whether they're against Kamala, is irrelevant and inconsequential, I would want to say, at this moment in time. Because we have two leaders, both believing that they are defending their own turf, their own territory, and that is exactly what Venezuela and Guyana. But we do not afford a situation like that between Trinidad and Venezuela at this point in time, and I think we all can agree on that. That we simply cannot afford to engage in further deterioration in diplomatic ties with our closest neighbor at this present time.
Okay, Earl, we have a caller here online. Good night, caller.
Yeah, the night again. The night again. So the Trinidadian was the transporter who transport the terrorist group into Venezuela, right? So that
But
is where
why
We have
would
any
the
Mr.
evidence of
Lima
that
No,
was
though?
saying.
that what we say
coming
a theory. That is a theory.
Yeah, that's speculation. That's
So
speculation. We don't have all the facts.
so many Venezuelan ship pirogue going back and forth in and out Trinidad, right? So
Yes.
you tell me Venezuela don't have the borders protected? So
It's a
you telling me
possibility.
no because if the Trinidadian is just the transporter, how could he blame the whole of Trinidad and Broadbush Trinidad as being part of the terrorist organization? If they capture the man and they interrogate him, and whereby whoever means any guy go say, well, I was paid to take them across. So then
Well,
would it have been easier now? You
caller,
just
the way
saying,
I
right?
see
Wouldn't it
it,
be easier?
the way I see it, caller, is this, right? If Trinidad has roughly 1.4, 1.5 million citizens, and one individual is caught doing wrong in Venezuelan waters, it's no different to many other. Look, just recently we had some Tobagonians going into another one of our CARICOM brothers and sisters country and committing a crime, and they were arrested and they are before their court system. I don't see any difference in this situation. So in other words,
Well,
you can't really blame 1.5 million people for the actions of one individual or two individuals. It is not a government.
exactly.
It's not to say that there's evidence that the government of Trinidad and Tobago sanctioned that untoward situation by sending in that boat into Venezuelan waters to cause havoc and mayhem or to destabilize their country. That was not a
No, but
government issued situation or government sponsored situation. So that is why I want
exactly.
to believe. I might be naive, but I want to believe that the scenario could be scaled back, but we have to do it through diplomatic channels, because at no point in time, no matter when countries go to war, you must sit around a table to come to peace. At the end of the day, if it is your one peace, peace doesn't only come on the battlefield. Peace usually comes around a table where persons with level heads, patriots sit together and deal with things maturely as opposed to emotionally.
Exactly,
In the
because
meantime, I have my
those
bags back,
individual,
yes? That's what I can
but those,
say. I have my bags back. I ain't even want
if,
to wait around for the rest of it. Because I
but
understand
those,
these people culture and they're very vicious. All the beheadings and stuff we've had here,
but those individual,
there ain't no pointing fingers, but they are not like us. They do not, and they take disrespect highly as an offense. So I
but the
would not
individual
even
they
let it be
capture,
a fly on the wall around that round table when they decide to trash it out, because it was a reckless statement. I don't have a problem with you
no,
defending your nation, but you do so, as you said, Oral, in diplomacy. That statement made was not diplomatic.
Well, caller,
yeah, well,
we have to say concerning that,
yeah,
although you
yeah,
call back
yeah,
specifically to talk about that.
yeah. This is that's good. So the individual they capture who they claim to be terrorists from Colombia. Why they don't issue the pictures out and state what their rank and file is towards the terrorist organization? You see, this is where intelligence come in and this is where communication come in. You see, they can't just capture people and say, oh, these are terrorist group. Now, we are a sovereign nation and there's something called ethics of war crime, right? And there's
Yeah, but
treaties that are
Venezuela is not a
signed with.
signatory to those, comrade. Venezuela is not a signatory to those
I am trying
charters.
No,
to
no, but
understand.
we sign treaties with America and other countries.
United
So
Nations.
But
the
they're
thing is,
granting on the US right
and
now. That is money badly spent
no,
Banking on the US
And
right now?
no, we're not banking for having war, you know. But the thing is, he sent a threat, our prime minister sent a threat. This has nothing to do. I live in outside in the states, right? And this has nothing to do. The same way when they had said they're gonna take back the visas and all the prime minister and presidents of the Caribbean say, well, if they want to take it back, we are a sovereign nation and we are a sovereign nation. And we have a right to act however we want to. It could be whoever in power, right? Maybe the statement was a little bit harsh. Maybe they could work things out. But we as
Yes.
public in Trinidad and Tobago, we cannot take things out of proportion and just state one thing. There's talks going to happen behind another. Venezuela is not going to invade Trinidad just like that. Come on, let's be real. We live in a real world. War don't happen just like that. When Ukraine and Russia went into war, it was years. Right? Venezuela not going to bomb Trinidad or bomb Russia Trinidad. We just blowing everything out of proportion. And you see what Mr. Riemann say about you, Mr. Riemann say about UNC and UNC. This has nothing to do with UNC. This is about Trinidad and Tobago and the sovereignty of the country, right?
Correct.
But if Maduro was diplomatic, there's way and channels to handle this. But he sent a direct threat to invade Trinidad, so he would have sent 20 soldiers into Trinidad. And if these individuals was hiding in people's houses, they would have come and kick down the doors and find them, and we would have done nothing, and we would have said nothing. So let's say they was hiding in one of our family houses, and they kicked down our family door and shoot up the whole family. We would have just say no. All right, go ahead. You see, we have to look at it in a different perspective. This has nothing to do with UNC and PNM. This has to do with sovereignty and the protection of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And if you make a threat and we send back a threat, that is vice versa. There's way and means to channel it. There's the court of the ICC will get involved and they will have talks and discussions. So that's all I'm saying.
I agree. I agree.
And if Maduro have,
Thank you, caller.
All right, thank you.
I agree with caller.
Kezia, I mean, I noticed conversation went in, it carry on for a little while now, boy. You understand? So, hey, let me end off this show tonight. If we had to do our next show sometime, because this topic, watch me. As we put this topic outside here, I know it would have caused this type of bacchanal. I feel if it's tomorrow, I don't know where sister doing tomorrow. She not there. Yeah, you come back on.
We wrapping up because we can't carry on this. This is
Yeah. I feel there's a topic. I don't know if we have time tomorrow. Sometime during tomorrow we could discuss this because people want to talk about it. I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but I don't know. Don't know where is scheduled tomorrow, but this should be a topic that should be discussed.
I can check. You know, my schedule is
and let us know how it can be, what time will work for you, and I will just work around that time.
All right. Okay. Wonderful.
We need to stick a pin. It's minutes to midnight.
It's minutes to midnight.
We went over.
Way over.
This was overtime, right? And that minimum wage ain't cutting it. Right? So,
well, Kezia, thanks for being on tonight. Oral, thanks for being on here. You know, it's been a pleasure. And good night to the viewers on the chat.